Hello, everybody. Alright, just gotta get the guys on. Kitties, what are you doing? Puppy's gonna play. Alright, let's see here. Hey, Justin. Caleb, that's about to hop on. There we go. Alright, I'm trying to get you add. There we go.
Hey, hey,
hey. Hey, dude.
How do you do?
Doing pretty good. Pretty good. Just hanging in there.
Yeah. Man, this hurricane is looking terrible.
Yeah, every single time,
Gosh.
like yesterday, I was hearing that oh, it's category 5 now, but by the time it makes landfall, it'll kind of, dissipate to like a category 3. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound so bad. Except for now, they're just like, no, pressure's still dropping. It's like
Category 5 right now, talking about potentially doubling. Like,
yeah,
and my heart goes out to everyone that's in the path. But
yeah,
hey, you know what? I love how the community's really coming together, though. Like, you see so many people that are
yes,
in such a moment. Like, that's what the community is all about, and that's what I love about it. It's a group of people that are banding together and offering services. Like, hey, we got you. Get
yeah,
here, get out. We're not expecting anything, at the end of this. Like,
right,
that's good stuff. But yeah, prayers go out to the people that are in the line of it.
absolutely. And I mean, and there's several of our like Jacksonville area and peeps that are out there that they're gonna stay put, and it just
Yeah.
obviously I'm sitting there thinking like, oh gosh, I hope they have everything they need. And of course you ask and they're like, oh, I've got this, that, and that. So, they're just going to write it out. And, you hear that there's like near gridlock on all the highways out, from basically what they're considering like the affected zone is scary. It's such a scary thought. But yeah, just like you said, Caleb, there's like people all over the place that are, offering their homes, their kennels, their stalls, their rooms. It's wild. It's wild to see how many people, just kind of popped out of the woodwork. It's like, nobody panic if you've got horses, dogs, whatever, it's like, dang, man.
Yes, and
Hey,
not to forget.
this ain't one. I don't think nobody want to stay around on this one.
Gosh,
Man,
yeah. I mean, you can leave, do. I mean, there are so many places to go. Even Dave Wilson had said that, like, listen, is like, in the event that, you need anything, obviously, reach out to me first. He's like, because even if I can't help you, I'm gonna find someone who can. You know what I mean? Like, and and that's just outside of, tilt my camera
yeah,
back.
no, yeah. How is
Well,
it?
I won't need to do
As
that
soon
once.
as Jerry
Yeah,
comes,
once Jerry
it's
gets on, it'll, like, I'll shrink. Like, in this moment, Justin, with me, with three of us on here, I'm like, I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. It's like every single flaw, if I have it, it's right here.
Oh my gosh. Lord help her.
Oh, I know it. I know it. Okay, so it looks like it's adding Jerry. Let's see if it successfully does it. So far,
Benny, what's up? Adam, what's going on? How y'all doing tonight? Bruce, what's up, man?
Mr.
What's up,
Flame,
man? Finally got a day off, man.
Man,
you get those?
Man, hey, it'd be rough on me sometime, boy.
Well, I believe
but
it.
Bruce at work, man. I know what you do at work though.
I don't. You know what? The thing about it, I don't hardly do any work.
But
It's just being there mentally. You know what I mean?
exactly, the mental
Mentally, man.
exhaustion. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
Yeah.
you're right on that, man. Because that just wears you out. Just the mental, just going there. You
yeah.
feel because you're trapped during that. Of course, it's voluntarily
And
trapped, but
actually, man, you know what? Today is the first day I'm having like really off. But like when I do a turnaround, like working off nights on days, I have to
yeah,
have like a half a day off
yeah,
to turn back around and
yeah,
go back
man.
to
That
work on the
that's got.
days.
I don't know how
So
you get in a
so
sleep pattern, man.
man, you don't, man.
I don't
You
do
don't.
that. I literally don't know how you do that. That's insane. You're a madman. You're literally a madman.
Well, but I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I do get a little rest at work, so you know how it is, you know. So
Oh man. Hey
yeah.
man, I bet you're enjoying that back patio though, man. I
Hey,
love that hot tub out there.
man, look, I was doing some stuff. My wife got in the she got in the spa today, this evening, and I wasn't able to join her. I had a couple of things I had to do, so she was waiting on me, but she said I was taking too long, so she stayed out there for a little while. I said I can't. I said I got so much stuff to do on this day off and stuff, and then I said I got this podcast tonight. I said
Yeah.
I can't do it. Yeah.
Man, Bruce is gonna get on one night. He's gonna be in the hot tub. Like,
I'm waiting for it. I've been waiting for that since
You
I
been
used
waiting for
oh
that?
no.
You been waiting for that?
I was like, dang, man. I'm just waiting to see you just chilling in the hot.
Hey,
Like,
look,
you fall asleep while we're in the middle of the interview.
y'all are always welcome. It'll hold 8 people. It's big. It's big, man. It's big. It might not look like that on camera, but it'll hold 8 grown people for real.
I'm
That's
off tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow.
Come on, come on.
first name is that.
Oh man.
The only thing I don't like about it though, they say it's a safety feature. It cuts off like every 20 minutes. So you have to like restart the buttons again after every 20 minutes. That's the only thing I don't like about it.
Rich people
Really.
problems.
Humble brag, humble brag.
Oh man.
But it's fun. It's fun to get in there,
Yeah.
Well, that's from
Relaxing, man. So
especially
peaceful.
like right after a good workout and you be sore or stuff like that. Oh man,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, that's what Matt was saying earlier today. After a bunch of yard work, he was sitting there thinking like, we really need like a hot tub or a pool or something I can
Man, I would have been had one if I would have knew that. Actually, I've never really been in one. I have, but it was like, kind of like a small one, and it really it was it didn't have the what you call that, the hypothermia, whatever that is, to push on your muscles and everything.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it's
Oh,
hypothermic.
it's not, I can't remember what it's called, but it's not hypothermic. That's actually the exact opposite. That's you freezing to death. That'd be a bad thing to happen to you in a hot tub. That'd be very, very devastating. I'm
Bruce
trying
is
to get, Bruce froze up, baby.
you either shocked Bruce or he's frozen.
Oh no, I ain't in the shop, but
I'm gonna go for the
it's
latter.
possible.
I'm gonna go for the latter of the two. I don't think I'm that shocking.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get Jerry to hop out and hop back on. I think he's trying to kind of do the
Yeah.
same thing that I'm doing, where he's on his phone, but he also has his laptop. But he has not hopped back on just yet. But once he does, we'll get him. As far as Bruton is concerned, Caleb, like, what are you guys looking at as far as like tomorrow night when it makes landfall? Are you guys getting just rain and wind
I think
or anything at all?
very, very, very minimal, if anything, which we are so blessed. Like it's going to the right, like the whole cone of it. It's like we should be off enough where maybe a little rain, a little wind, but that's very, very minimal of it. And again, I hate the people that are in the path of it. Like, prayers go out to them. But yeah, we should get very little. What about y'all?
Um,
If we-
we shouldn't see no effects off
Yeah,
of
y'all
it.
should get less than us. Y'all are
None,
more normal.
none at all. You know,
There's
Jerry
Jerry.
said send again.
Yeah, I sent him the invite.
There he is.
What's up, folks?
Jerry.
Jerry, Tom and Jerry.
There he is. Now you're not staring at my chin.
Her chinny chin chin is gone. What up, Jerry?
You're not staring at my chin.
Her chinny chin chin is gone.
Oh, there we go. Oh,
We got some background noise.
can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Jerry. Is it? You got something else on? Too?
You got
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Jerry. You got something else on? Too?
yeah. If you're on your phone, silence your laptop. I've done that before, like, because I have my laptop propped directly behind my phone so that I can, follow the comments and everything more easily. And I have to silence it. Otherwise, that's what happens is you just hear nothing but us talking in the background and just
Jerry
echoing.
does a podcast. Jerry does a podcast.
Damn it, Jerry. He does, doesn't he? Let's do it tomorrow night, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jerry.
Get out the Kings tonight, my man.
I know, right? We'll help you iron it out. We'll do this together. We'll do this together.
No, I love Jerry. Jerry's always a treat. He's always spitting a lot of
absolutely.
knowledge, and he's fun to talk to.
Oh, yeah.
He says, "Can you hear me?" Not just comment.
No, you are not on the live right now, Jerry. Let's see here. Let me see if it'll let me add you on. This time, when you hop on, my dear, go ahead and whatever device you're actually using to just, be on live and talk on live, make sure that's the only thing that has the speaker on. Silence whatever you're not actually listening on. So like if you're on your phone and you join the live through your phone, that should be the only speaker you have on. Silence the laptop or vice versa. I'm sorry, Mr. Flack. I didn't send him the camera crew. I don't even know if we have.
Fake it till you make it.
We are baking it like a muffin.
Oh.
No camera crew. No big mic like Chris James has. I noticed that was conveniently missing in his interview with.
Yeah. Hey, that was a good interview. I enjoyed that.
Oh, absolutely. I think you have
You
to
got to go all the way
hop
back
off.
out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you have to hop out, babe, and hop all the way back in. And then it should prompt me to let you, or to invite you on or bring you on camera. So hop out and hop back in. Start from scratch.
Hey,
Mm.
Caleb.
Yo,
Hey, you got your horse yet?
we got one, yeah.
No, you.
Oh no, not yet. Did you?
Not yet.
Hey, man, I got. We're going, man. That's what's so cool. Like, man, Bruce is getting like, we're getting into horses, like horse shows. Bruce getting into horse shows. Like, so now it's cool. Like, me and him are gonna see each other. Like, for y'all don't know, me and Bruce live like hour and a half, 2 hours away. So like,
Oh
man, just the
man.
community, just the camaraderie, like, just the comfort, like going there and being able to see someone that's got the same interest, and man, it's cool. And then Bruce, like, man, I call him Big Unc for a reason. That's like uncle right there. So man, just spending that time, and yeah, looking forward to that, man.
Oh yeah, I got to build a barn, man. I've been looking for some barn kits, pole barn kits. I guess I'm gonna do one like that. So,
Oh,
but
what?
Oh my gosh.
barn, I got to have a barn.
It's
Oh,
Build a
okay.
awesome.
barn.
Bruce, I don't know how many
That is
last
not what I
projects
heard.
you have told me. Last projects. Like, that's why I laugh. That's why I laugh. Because now it's another project.
Hey, you know what?
Another one.
I think. Hey, I'm glad you're on here, April. You're not getting back in the horse game anymore. You done. You done. You done.
You tell
That's
everybody
Bruce's
what
way
to do.
to
Hey,
motivate to get her in
April.
it.
Look, April Holcomb. Man, you talking about a horse rider and a horse trainer? She's
Mhm.
probably about one of the best ones that's
Heck
around
yeah.
here, for
That's
real.
what's up.
Hey, I have to take my hat off to her. She bad now, but she done got rusty. She done got rusty, so you
There he
know.
goes again, poking.
All right. So, Jerry, for some strange reason, it's not showing you as someone I can invite. You might actually have to request to come on. It's one of the, if you're on your phone, it's one of the icons on the bottom towards the left.
Yeah,
Oh,
right,
that's funny.
April.
You had to
Yeah.
make room for the little people, is what it is.
Yeah,
That's what it is. She needed to give y'all some room to shine. I,
I like that.
that's what I'm here for that. Totally here for that. Cows, even plants. Yeah, oh, yeah. Genetics is genetics. This is absolutely true. Hybrids and mixes all the way around, baby. Yeah, Jerry, that's probably the best bet. I'm willing to bet almost all of us are actually using our phone for this, to a degree. But yeah, try using your phone and see if that helps.
Jerry, Jerry, Jerry.
It's
Oh,
enough. It's enough drama getting people on the show. That's like it kind of feels like a.
yeah. No, it's gonna be good live. I'm looking
Oh
forward
yeah,
to it.
absolutely. I'm super stoked
Jerry
about
got
it.
some good stuff
It's
going on over there.
oh no, absolutely. And what's fun about Jerry is he's completely realistic, and he's not going to sell you something. He's literally like he wants people to do well, and wants to be a part of it. So
Hey guys,
yay!
Hey, hey.
Man.
sorry.
All good,
Don't
Jerry.
apologize. It happens. I mean, technology is strange. It's sometimes things work one way, and then you try it later on, and it doesn't work. You have to use something else. It's a mess. It's a whole mess.
What's going
Yeah,
on, Jerry?
it's a little
Herman's like, you're
ridiculous. I had it set up good for the laptop, and I've never had the problem before. So now I had to run get my phone charger. So I apologize.
oh no. No, not at all. We're just happy to have you one way or another.
Man, I'm the one that's happy to be on. You know, y'all are famous.
Famous. Come on,
Famous.
Jerry.
Y'all are famous.
Aw. I appreciate
Oh
the
man.
confidence in that. No, well, no, you, sir, you are famous because you obviously on top of, being awesome at what you do in general, but you're also, you have a podcast of your own.
And actually, I
Sure.
didn't know that.
Mhm.
Let me get some juice here.
Is there going to be anything special in that news?
Oh well, now you guys ought to know if you watch the BWO podcast. I've always got a bourbon.
There we go.
That's what I asked. It
man.
was a
Man.
rhetorical question. I will give you that.
Beards and bourbon.
And
I can dig
bullies.
it. I can't
Beards,
dig it.
bourbon, and bullies. Trust me,
There you
I've thought
go.
about starting a podcast
It's
on my
triple B.
YouTube channel and renaming it Beards, Bullies, and Bourbon. Talk about all three.
I think
Absolutely.
you can pull it off.
Yes.
What's your favorite bourbon?
I'm sorry.
What's one of your favorite bourbons?
Oh man, that favorite. That's like
Top top three-ish. Like just throw one out there that's in your top 3 or 5, even if it helps.
well, I will say that I drink Evan Williams bottled and bond every day.
Every day?
Well, I mean, there are occasions where I can't get to it, but yeah, most time every day.
You heard the man. Yeah.
Look, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm a connoisseur.
There we go.
I got you.
My
So-
man. Beautiful beard, by the way. But Jerry, for the people that are
Thank you so much.
the people that don't know who you are, introduce yourself and let's jump into some dog talk, man.
All right, yeah, let's get it on. So my name's Jerry James. I guess you would say I'm the owner of Dubtown Bullies. With my beautiful fiance Shauna here in Northwest Oklahoma, and by the way, I'm getting married at the end of this month.
Saw that ring, baby. Congrats.
Congratulations.
Right? Thank you. So, yeah, been in the Bullies. I guess I'm going on my 4th year now, and so just kind of been building things. We've had some setbacks with early on in the program, and some dogs that I initially had that I no longer have anymore, and first breeding didn't go well, and pyometra absorption and spay, and that kind of cripples, especially when you're starting out and you're small. That really kind of cripples you, a little bit. And so I found myself having to go. I was like, man, I got to go find some dogs.
Yeah.
And so then of course you got to turn around and you got to wait for them to grow up.
Yeah.
Before you can really do anything with them. So this year we just had our second litter, and I apologize if the lighting's not real good, guys. Last year's litter with Champion Maggie has turned. Let's see, they're running on 16 months now, and they're turning out real nice. And they're mostly an old blood litter, and so of course, when I first took pictures and everything of them at 11 weeks, and was doing the promo, of course, like everybody does, and trying to sell a few puppies and everything. I mean, they, I get it. They kind of look like terriers. I sent Amanda some pictures though, and they don't look like terriers anymore, do they, Amanda?
No, they do not.
They little
That was one of
hogs,
those
man.
first,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, stop messing around with me, dude. This is not the same. These ain't the same dogs. It's like,
No, they're not. And and that's the thing. It's really, if you know what's behind it, you know what's going on, and trust the blood is not just a, not just a simple phrase. It really does mean something. Some of these dogs just take a while to percolate. You know what I mean?
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So now we're on. We had our second litter this year. Went a little bit different direction with both litters have been by Champion Maggie, and she's our little powerhouse pocket dog. And so we went with line bred with her sire line. Went to Foking Sriracha, who was a Grim son, and we did a little collaboration with Southern Hearts Bully down in Alabama. Some of our BWO partners, and did a little split litter thing, and so we brought home 3, and then we also brought home a Frenchie that they bred. So I'd always wanted a Frenchie, and he's super cute, you know.
You got like most of those little guys also knew like nothing but the best for this little man. Like, cause like I wanted him, and Matt told me no. Cause you know, we got enough for now. And then I was like, well, then he has to go to the best home ever. And of course, there couldn't have been a better.
That's cool.
I mean, the day she told me, she's like, oh, well, he's going, you know, he's going with Jerry. I was like, oh, thank goodness. I was like, so happy.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, he's his name is Smudgy, and he's doing great. He'll hit his first show as long as we get all the paperwork. You know, I didn't realize this, but being a co-owner and then with AKC, you just get a little certificate, and then you have to request a pedigree, and they charge you $35. You know, and so now I'm waiting on the pedigree so I can submit it to ABKC along with the pictures that are required and everything to get the dual registration. So I'm waiting to get my damn pedigree from AKC so we can, because the show's in November. Well, and the show's at the end of November, so we got some time. But still, we wanna get him done so we can get him out there. But he's a mess. I'm telling you, he's a mess. He's in the bed with Shauna right now. So
spoiled much, huh? I love
just a little bit. Him and Bella. So we kept for this year's litter. We kept 2 males. I did the breeding specifically to get a male. Okay. And so I made 2 picks of the males, and then we'll you know, when they're a year old, then we'll evaluate them and we'll kind of decide. But the interesting thing is, and you guys know how particular I am about, you know, looking at the numbers, setting up a pedigree, and planning my breeding, right? But there was a bit of a surprise. I mean, we got pocket dogs, and then we got this one blue tri. His name is Doc, and it looks to me like he is going to be a really nice, big, classic dog.
I like it.
And I'm like, where'd you come from? You know,
nice to see
because all the dogs in the litter were either blue or smut, which is Maggie's color, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's a blue tri. And of course, so, you know, back along Maggie's dam line, you get back a couple generations. Well, I'll be darned, there's some blue tris there.
Yeah.
And a little bit more classic looking dog. So even though she has a low inbreeding coefficient, we went to a high COI stud. The beauty of genetics is they still throw you a surprise every now and then.
So not only did it throw the blue tri, but it also threw the height that in the pedigree. So it threw
some recessive stuff right there, man.
So when I say, you know, I'm going to evaluate them at a year old, it may end up where I keep both of them simply because their phenotypes are going to be so different.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, so and it just so happens that his structure of all the dogs, Corey Latham, you know, I mean, he's a BRC judge, and they were just sure I was going to pick that biggest male, and he had a beautiful headpiece, and you know, he was just all that, right? And but you know, I was looking for the best show dog, and Doc just had beautiful structure, and had that nice turn to stifle that I've been looking for and everything, and I'm like, oh well, I guess it's a classic.
Jerry, I love that. You are so calculated with your breedings. You said that you've been doing this for 4 years, and this is your second breeding, correct?
Yeah.
Just make sure I'm correct. Like, so you did such evaluation, and this is what the community really needs and to listen to, because the COI before, the homework, the pairing, the puppy picking, the whelping, everything that you do is so calculated. And that's why it's only the second breeding. I know you well enough to say that, because you wanted to make sure it was exactly the way it needed to be, to make sure it gave you what you were looking for. So with that, let's talk about the puppy picking process, because you know you were just talking about that. Why did you pick that puppy? You know, how do you evaluate puppies, and why did you pick that puppy particularly?
Well, you know what, really, you know, I did the breeding because I really wanted a really nice pocket male stud with those bloodlines to kind of serve as my my outcross, if
Yeah.
you will, you know.
Yeah.
Because I do favor the old blood a lot more than the Dax blood. But you know, especially back in the day, most of your top show dogs had a little bit of Dax in there. They had a lot of old blood, but they had a little bit of Dax in there. And that's the formula that I'm sticking with. I don't, you know, I may be on the outside looking in, but there's a type of dog that when I got into bullies, I just loved, and there was a look that I loved, and I'm just not going to deviate from that. You know, I'm just, it's kind of whatever. So when you so about the puppy picking process, you know, I firmly believe, and there's a video out there, and I've talked about it before. Uh, now of course my mind goes blank. But there's a couple that spent 20 years studying puppies, and then the puppy puzzle. That's the name of the video. It's on YouTube. Anybody can, you know, you can watch it. But they studied dogs, puppies, and they followed those, you know, to 20 years they spent doing this, right? And they said that the optimal time to pick your puppy is 8 weeks plus or minus 3 days. Okay. So I try to do that right in there. Now, when I used to breed horses, we always said 3 months and 2 years is when you're going. I mean, that's when you get the glimpse, because horses really grow like seesaws. You know, you don't. So at 3 months, you really get to see that, you know, what they're going to be. And it's kind of the same way with these dogs, right? 8 weeks. And I know I hear a lot of people talk about, well, you hang on to them 12 weeks, you know, 4 months. And that's valid, and that's cool. But I really feel like that 8 weeks is the best, you know, 8, 9 weeks is really the best time to really pick those puppies.
Yeah.
Hey, Jerry, I want to ask you this. Let's go back a little bit. You said that you like the old type
Yeah.
blood, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to keep dealing with that old type blood. All
Yeah.
right. Either you're going to have a lot of dogs. You got a lot of dogs right now. Or like when you get ready to breed out, you're going to try to stay with that same similar blood. Because
Well,
after a while, I'm saying that because after a while, that Dex blood going to be farther and farther back. You see what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
so how you gonna bring it back up front if you're trying to stay with that similar blood?
You talking about bringing the Dax blood up front?
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm saying is, all right, you trying to stay that style of dog, and you
Yeah.
looking at this Dax blood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. After it get farther down the line, Dax gonna be nowhere to be found, right? So definitely, yes, you'll still have your genetics, but when you got outcross, what you gonna do? Try to go back to some more Dax blood that's kind of like people that had it tight, or what? I'm just trying to get an idea of where you going in your breeding. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, and that's one of the reasons why I did the breeding that I did. You know, with Sriracha being a Grimm son. So basically, the two males that I've got, they got a COI of around 20%. You know, they're fairly heavy Dax. You know, Maggie is 3 times phenom, along with sire line directly to Big Red, which is Rocco, which is Dax, right? And then I've got, with Sriracha, he's a Grim son out of a Rocco daughter, so we're looking at line bred Rocco there, which is all line bred Dax. So those males, right, are going to provide me with that when I need the Dax. That's why I got it on the yard, right?
Yeah.
But
Well, look, let me ask you this: have you got them collected?
oh, they're just now 5 months old.
Okay. Oh, so you just okay? All right, I got you. I was thinking that there was one of your dogs that you started with. You said you've been in the game like 4 years, so I'm figuring that was one of the dogs that you kind of like really started with. And dogs
Oh
get
no,
older and older.
no,
Okay, I got you. I got
no.
you.
You're still young, Bruce. You're still a year old.
No, I love what
Yeah,
he's saying though, because the importance of
yeah.
getting a
Those
dog
they're a
collected.
little young now. Now Buster, my oldest stud is let's see, Buster will be 2 years old in November.
Wow.
Now,
Oldest,
yeah,
2 years old.
I got a lot of young dogs, man.
Get him on that
That's a good looking
AARP, baby.
breed.
I saw you had to have a lot to breed like that. I kind of, I kind of felt that.
Well, we have 10. Well, actually, with co-own that's coming here pretty soon, we'll have 11 bullies.
Okay,
Wow.
But
I got you.
Wow.
we have 14 dogs right now. So
A cane corso.
yeah, we got
Frenchie.
Connie Corso. We got Connie Corso. We got Dominic Toretto, and then
Yeah.
of course we got Smudgy, and then Shauna had some dogs.
Yeah.
So it's hey,
Hey, Jerry.
it's dog heaven around here.
Hey,
Yes, so
could I put you on a limb? Could I put out?
Sure,
Could I put you? All right.
long as
So
there's
you.
no saws around.
So look, I want to ask you this. All right. So you do COIs on all your dogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's kind of well, I'm gonna put it like this. Would you ever breed son to daughter, or
No,
either half brother to sister?
no. Well, no, I'm gonna take that back. Half brother to sister, yes. Depending on the diversity of the other two lines,
outside of
right?
their
And
time.
and 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 just so you know, I'm getting ready to do that. I'm going to be doing that.
Okay.
Um, okay, so you guys probably are from. I mean, Champion Janie, right? My girl. She's a Grand Champion John Wayne daughter. And down the road, I'm planning on breeding her to Grand Champion Bass Reeves, which is her half brother.
Same.
Okay.
Nice. Very, very nice paired breeding.
So the COI will let you do that for us on paper.
Well, just so you know, yeah, on paper that COI is still slightly below 20%.
Okay. I got you.
All right. So,
So,
Jerry, inbreeding. Would you ever do inbreeding in your program?
um, yeah, if I had a very specific reason, a very specific need, and I knew that those dogs were genetically clear. With any breeding, you're taking some element of risk, but it would be a very calculated reason for, like I did this breeding. I wanted to get a male. I was doing it for a very specific reason, right? As a general practice, no, I won't do it, but there might be an occasion at some point down the line where I may do that, but it would be a very unique situation if I were to do that.
Yeah.
So,
No, absolutely.
you've had a couple questions so far that we haven't got to. Before we hop into COIs, explaining that and why it's important and what it can do as far as like research for your program and whatnot. First and foremost, Adam wants to know what your favorite what your favorite beer is.
My favorite beer. Well, this is this. I'm not a
We
big
thought
beer
Bruce
drinker.
put you in a weird spot. All right.
Uh,
Thanks, Adam.
I'm more of a bourbon Scotch guy, but in the summertime, a Leinenkugel's Summer Shandy or a Barry Weiss are fabulous beers. Now I have some Busch Light in the fridge, but you know.
I used to have a friend that she would actually mix the Berry Weiss and the Summer Shandy. She'd mix it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what are you doing? She's like, it's like having a berry lemonade in a beer. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I didn't know what those were until I lived in Wisconsin for 5 years.
Right, and you're like, oh, Leinenkugel, look at that.
I'm like,
No, Leinenkugel,
what's a
they have some
Leinie's?
fun stuff.
I'm like, what's a Leinie's? You know, I'm like, oh, Leinenkugel. Oh, okay.
Interesting. Non-beer related, Justin had a question much earlier on. He said, is it normal for litters in this breed to be small? He said the litter I'm getting my new puppy from is only 4 puppies, and the breeder has another litter that's 1 week older, and there were only 3.
Yeah.
So from your experience as a breeder, and obviously, Caleb and Bruce can kind of chime in as well with kind of what their experience is. But from your experience, Jerry, what would you say to that?
Well, there's so many factors involved. First of all, I would need to know how the dog's bred, what the inbreeding coefficient of the dog is, and we talk about it a lot. The higher the inbreeding coefficient, the less likely the dog is to be, a
Birds producer, yeah.
a high-end producer, right?
Mhm.
Maggie actually has a genetic COI below 10. Her on paper, she's a little over 5%. Yeah, I mean, Maggie's 13 inches tall, right? I mean, she's a little fire plug. But first litter was 8. First litter
Yeah.
was 8, and the second litter was 7.
Yeah.
You
Nice
know,
size litters.
and so Embark did the study. For every 10% increase in inbreeding coefficient, you can, on average, have a decrease of 1 puppy per litter. So if you have a 30 COI, then you're missing out on 3 puppies on average.
Dang. Yeah.
Good info.
Well, and the diet can, and whether or not the dog is healthy, if there's any kind of additives in the food that you're feeding them that can kind of mess with their fertility. I mean, it could be, lifestyle and environment can play a factor as well sometimes.
Yeah, and the grain-free dog foods that have lentils in them and stuff, they're estrogenic. They do mess with things, although you can get online and you can read studies and white papers and everything, and they'll say there's no conclusive evidence that it has any effect. But there's enough empirical or enough real life data with people having problems getting females pregnant on grain-free diets. It's like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't do grain-free diets on females that you plan on breeding.
Yeah. Hey, time out. Hey, Justin, I love this, and he's willing to step out.
Yep.
What is COI? Incredible question, because we want this for the newer breeders. So
Absolutely.
coefficiency of inbreeding. It's the percentage of the inbreeding that dog carries genetically. There's paper COI and there's genetic COI. Jerry does paper COI, and we're gonna dig a little deeper into that too, and the difference between paper COI and genetic COI. But I love the question, but it's coefficiency of inbreeding. This is why we do this podcast, so I wanted to make sure we make time out to really kind of, hit on that question. But Justin, man, I love the question.
That's a good catch, Caleb. Real good catch.
Oh, absolutely. And Justin and anybody else that's listening, obviously, whenever you have questions, there's no other way to say there is no stupid questions.
Yeah.
Do not be afraid to ask, because that's why we're doing this, is to get people the information that they need to better their program, to better the breed, to better themselves. So there's ask all the questions. All the questions. There's nothing that isn't an open book here. So definitely ask all the questions.
Well, and I always tell everybody that. I'm like, look, there's the genetic COI that you get from an actual embark test or a wisdom panel or whatever, and there's what I do on paper, you know, as far as consultations and stuff go. You know, the paper, you know, the stuff that I do, you know, on a regular basis is, you know, it's what was used from 1921 on up until just a few years ago when genetic, you know, genetic testing was available to us, you know, at a reasonable price, right? And I have found that, I mean, it gets you close, right? It gets you kind of in the ballpark.
Exactly.
The difference between what I do and the genetic testing is I can look in the pedigree and I can kind of, you know, and because it gives me COIs for every dog in the analysis, I can, you know, we can look at the genetic concentration and kind of see where, you know, where the dominance is that may flow into your breeding, right? Like anything with breeding, there are never any guarantees, but at least what we're trying to do is we're trying to hedge our bets, and we're trying to avoid deleterious traits by having too high of an inbreeding coefficient. We're trying to avoid health problems.
Oh, absolutely. Among other things. I mean, there's so many people that if they don't, if they're not testing, you know, for COI, some of those breedings that they have planned, that they're super excited about, are definitely not going to end the way that they want them to, because the dog that has the higher COI is not the dog whose traits they want to really kind of, you know, infiltrate into their program, you know, and you know, that could be super disappointing. So like
Yeah.
COI is a great tool for, you know, avoiding things like, you know, traits that you don't want to be bred in. And then obviously, you know, the health issues that you don't want to continue. So, oh, absolutely, man, it's
Well, and here's the
what you
crazy
do is
thing:
important.
you can still have a dog with a stud, say for instance, with a high COI, that still may not stamp his offspring.
What's wild?
Yeah.
I mean, so genetics really are, they really are a crapshoot, right, guys? But what we do try to do is we try to do our best, you know, and then Mother Nature does her thing, right?
Yep.
But what we really try to do with COI is it's really a risk mitigation type
I like
thing,
that. I like
and
that a lot.
that's the important thing. Is it's really utilized for health, for pairings, you know, and that's the way I use it. I don't want my COIs. I don't really necessarily want them too low, but I don't want them too high either. There's
Right.
kind of a sweet spot that I'm looking for, you know.
What's the sweet spot?
Around
I'm
12.
gonna ask it. Someone's gonna ask it. I'll ask
Not
it.
now.
I'm
Not
asking for me,
now.
actually. I want to know.
Oh
Caleb,
man.
if you don't know where the sweet spot is, man, we're gonna have to talk.
Jerry, that's
There's
that's
too
that's
many
hey,
jokes for that,
that's
Jerry.
offline. Me
Don't
and you
do it.
got
Don't do it. Don't do it. Too
Oh
many
man.
jokes. Where's Nakia when we need her?
Oh
12,
man.
Oh, but I'll
the
call you
sweet spot is 12 to 14%.
Nice. For both the male and the female?
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, you know, not that you're breeding, you know, 14% male to 14% female. That's not what I'm saying. For, you know, consistent reproduction with minimal health risk, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you want some consistency, you know, in phenotype, right? Well, that we all kind of want some consistency there, but we also want to have healthy puppies, right? And so at 12 to 14%, look, guys, I mean, science says anything above 5 is too high, okay? And but as breeders, we want some consistency in the way that our dogs look, right? I'm not overly, and to be honest with you, I'm not overly concerned about that. And here's the reason why. If you have some variation in the way that your puppies look, you have customers who are looking for different things. I mean, not every customer wants the same type of dog.
That's right.
right? So
Yep.
Yep.
I don't mind a little variation. Now, if I got 8 pups, I would really like 4 or 5 of them to be pretty darn consistent, you know, in terms of the way, you know, consistent look, right? But I'm
Mhm.
okay with some that aren't exactly alike.
And you think with the 12 to 14 on one of the dogs that you're going to get a consistent litter of, you know, 5 in each litter? Because what's the coefficiency of the other one? If 12 to 14 is one, what's the COI sweet spot of the other? You know, to pair it
Well,
really.
Roughly
What's
the
that?
same.
it depends on it depends on what you need. Okay. Um, let's say you got you know, you got a female, she's got a 12% COI, and you need to correct a rear assembly, right? You know, I mean, let's say she's not bad, but she needs some help, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go look for a dog that's got about a 30.
Oh,
Okay.
just
Daggone.
Okay.
I know, really.
I
Woo.
mean,
A
so
30 with that rear assembly, obviously, to correct that.
correct,
Right.
correct.
Okay. And so
I
they're going
mean,
to
now you
dominate
can
the.
look, you could go, I mean, you know, you could go looking for one that's a 20, 25.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but what you don't
Lessen the
want
chance,
is
yeah.
you don't want to go to a male that's, you know, got a 12 or a 14, because then their genetics are fighting it out, right?
There we go.
You're trying to fix something strategically. So you've got to find a genetically strong male to try to fix that, right?
I hear you. I hear you.
This is
Now,
a
do
So,
you?
and
Is
look,
that like?
I'm speaking from experience. Maggie, I mean, Maggie became a champion within 3 events at, you know, before she was even a year old. But she does need improvement in her rear angulation, right?
Mhm.
And so that's what I'm trying to do. That's why I went with Sriracha. On paper, he was 29. Genetically, he's probably closer to 40. Would be my guess, you know.
Yeah.
And well, you think about it, Grim sire, who's a, you know, so Rocco grandsire out of a Rocco daughter,
yeah.
right? So probably closer to 45, somewhere in that range. If we did an embark test on him, right?
Yeah.
And we saw some improvement, you know, and that's but the rear assembly is a hard thing to, you know, to really get corrected. It typically is not going to just get fixed in one generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna take a second. Now, do you like, as far as, that Goldilocks zone, that 12 to 14%? Do you feel like that's pretty universal across the board, regardless of class, or do you think certain classes within the American Bully would require like a higher or lower Goldilocks zone to get the
Well,
job
you
done?
know, Raul and I talk, you know, we've talked a lot, of course, and he's an XL breeder, and he feels like with the higher genetic diversity in XLs, he needs a higher COI in order to accomplish what he's trying to do, right? And
Mhm.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. Again, anytime you start, but same rules from a science standpoint still apply. The higher the COI, the more risk from a health standpoint.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, so, you know, that's, and for me, ultimately, that's, first of all, that's my first priority, is I want healthy dogs.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to sell a customer a dog that's going to have issues.
Right.
You know, but I will say that things can still happen. I mean, I had a dog, Lily. She was you know, all old school bloodlines. Embark tested clear, everything good, and we came home from a day trip. You know, the skies were cloudy that day. Temperature was in the 70s, and we came home. We found her dead in the yard.
Daggone.
And the only thing I can think of is she could get really excited. She was kind of a high drive, and she
Yeah.
would get really excited, and she then her throat would close up, and she would have trouble, and usually it got to where I couldn't even do the flirt pole with her, right?
Yeah.
It would take me an hour to get her calmed down and
Yeah.
the color, for her color to come back. And the only thing I can think of is she got excited about something, and she couldn't recover. So things do happen, but ultimately healthy dogs is what we want to be able to give to people, because um, not only is my focus on trying to breed show dogs, but I want people to have. I fell in love with these bullies just as a pet. That was all I was after when I first got started, and they're such wonderful pets, and I want people, when they spend that money and those dogs become part of their family, I want them to, I want them to have them for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I test all of my dogs. That's why I keep an eye on inbreeding coefficients. I do everything I can from a science standpoint to try to make sure that my dogs are good to go.
Now, speaking of science, Sean he brought up a good point. He's like, do you feel that embark COI testing versus paper COI results are obviously more efficient due to paper hanging? Now, obviously, you've got the technology, you've got the formula. So like you doing, paper COI is, because that's what you do. And you also, do you embark and do you trust the COI results on the embark versus any other form of genetic testing?
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I kind of know the difference, right? I have the paper, of course. My software and everything that I use, I have the paper results of all of my dogs, and then when I do my embark test, I compare those, right? And the genetic ones are higher, right? Because there's a thing called inherit by descent, right? So when we're dealing with the genetics, there's there's those runs of homozygosity that keep getting passed down and passed down, right? And there's no way to know on paper which genes get transferred, right? And that's why we do the genetic testing. And he's also right. I mean, if you've got a pedigree with paper hung dogs, I mean, you're making some assumptions here, and it's only as good, like any analysis, it's only as good as the data that we're working with, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
But again, what we're trying to do
True.
is we're kind of trying to shine a little bit of a light in the dark, and there may be some variability, but in most cases, it's not going to be enough to significantly alter what the results are. I mean, depending on where the paper hanging occurs, but I want to believe that most of that happened, 10 plus years ago, but
Hopefully.
If at all, but a while back, if
right,
not.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry, and I love how transparent you are, because you're saying that you tell everyone too, like you're stating tonight. This is a flashlight in the dark. This is a direction that we're going. We're using this, but also genetic test them too. Like the paper testing, it gives you a roundabout idea, and you're a whole lot more precise than what you really give off. But you sit there and give a percentage, kind of a wiggle room. But yes, that's a light in the dark. And yeah, that's definitely something. So if someone wanted to get their paper COI from you, how do they get a hold of you? And if you want to say the cost, or inbox you for that, like, let's how do people get that from you?
Well, all they need to do is just send me a message on Facebook Messenger. And really what I need is so if they just want a single dog done, they just send me the pedigree via Bullypedia link or PetX or whatever the link might be, right? Phone number and email, so I can get a hold of them. But what I do is you know, I go through, I make sure that I can find all of the dogs. Not all dogs have been put into databases, and then I can't complete the analysis, right? I mean,
Yeah.
every analysis involves between 1,800 and 2,000 dogs, you know, and so if certain things are left out, it affects the analysis. And
Yeah.
so I look and make sure I can do it first, and then if I can, then of course, then we go forward with it, right? So I was thinking about this earlier. So, and what I do really for people is more of it's a planning tool is really what it is, right? I mean, I plan my breedings 3 generations ahead because I have the
Yes.
software, I have the tools, I have, and I can model breedings that haven't even happened yet, so I know whether or not I should do those or whether I shouldn't, right? And so that's really the service that I offer. So if they want a single dog, or if they want to do a test mating, say they've got a stud that they want to breed to their female, okay? Now that's 2 dogs, but I consider that a test mating. The fee's $100, okay? And what they get is a 5-generation pedigree with the inbreeding coefficient of every dog listed on that pedigree.
Wow.
And then they get
Nice.
what is called an ancestor report, which is usually about 16 pages long. It contains every single dog in the analysis and their inbreeding coefficient, what generation the dogs were in, how many times they appear, and in what generation. So it's a very large report with all the data. So they get that as well. So that's why I need email, because they're big reports that have to be mailed. But what I do is, once the reports are generated and everything, I call them and spend anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour going over everything. And then a lot of times they might ask, well, what about this stud or whatever? If that stud's already in my database, we'll just do it while we're sitting there, right? I mean, I've modeled 2 or 3 breedings just sitting there for nothing, just to help people out, because it's fun for me and I enjoy it, right? And I'm always interested in, like, well, what does this look like? What does this look like?
Yeah.
So we'll go do it, right? So I may spend an hour with somebody, you know, trying to kind of help guide them a little bit, right? And it's fun for me. So what I decided, what I was thinking about was, for the next 2 weeks, I will give away 5 COI analysis for $50 if, when they message me, they say that they learned or saw about it on you guys' podcast.
Can't
Love
beat
it.
that, man.
Love it.
Oh, did you guys hear
Yes,
that?
sir.
So
Did y'all hear that? $50. What you said 5?
yeah, 5.
The next 5 COIs. I saw someone actually comment saying that they were going to get with you. I would message him right now. 5.
Right
Did y'all
now.
hear what y'all get on the
Justin?
COI analysis?
Yeah.
Because I did not realize how extensive this was.
Me neither.
You said 5 generation, you get the COI analysis on each one of those dogs, correct?
Yep.
Wow.
Dang.
So for
Now,
$50
so when they're
for the next 5.
So five different people, right? I'll do, you know, one analysis for $50, and it's good. You know, when the 2 weeks goes by and expires, then the deal's over, right? But
Jerry, I'm one. I'm gonna cash out the $50.
No, sir.
I will cash out the
This ain't for you.
I promise you, I will.
Hey,
well,
Jerry, put your cash up in
Caleb.
the comments. Push your cash up in the comments.
Amanda, I know Amanda's been wanting to do one too. You know.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah, Amanda, you want to hate
with
on
the
me?
dogs,
No.
I already,
I'm
I
getting
already
the
know what
5. You sit your ass out there.
Hey, Jerry, look, man.
Excuse me, sir. I was going to pay full price. Listen, I ain't asking for no discounts, sir.
You want?
Hey,
Now,
Jerry.
keep in mind though, guys, I don't accept anybody's money until I've looked and I know I can do the analysis. Right.
Yep.
No.
No, so speaking of knowing,
I love
like, yeah, absolutely. That's some integrity right there. I'm digging it. when it comes to like helping you kind of assess and look at whether or not you can actually create this, COI and, create these reports and everything like that from the information you're given, like how many generations back do you actually need that, like for them to provide to you, for you to, give them the most accurate paper COI?
Well, what we really don't. So, the further you go back, right? I mean, really, the less influence, and the less, the less those statistics really carry any weight. But I really, you really don't want gaps in the analysis, and one of the reasons why. So sometimes I talk about breeding families, for instance. So let's say a dog has a fairly low inbreeding coefficient, okay? But let's just say, for instance, they've got, and I've seen this, okay, 120 crosses to one Gotti, okay? So that dog is very strongly bred through that family, okay? So if I have a female, say, let's just say, for instance, that has a lot of one Gotti in her, but may not be line bred, there's a better than average chance that you pull from those genetics, right? And so one of the a couple of things that are on the report that I didn't mention, and for some reason it doesn't print out on the reports, but it's called ancestor loss coefficient. And what it does is it looks at the number of common ancestors after 5 generations and after 10 generations. It's kind of the inverse of inbreeding coefficient, but it gives you an idea of the genetic variability within those number of generations. So I like to see a number of 80% or higher after 5 and above 30 after 10. Okay, so basically what that means is if you have 80% after 5, you still have 80% of the dogs in 5 generations that are different. So only 20% that repeat, right? Even though, so you can have the inbreeding coefficient may not, and in that particular case, the inbreeding coefficient's not going to be very high, but it can give you an idea of even
You're breaking up.
Yeah.
Do-
Hey,
do what?
Jerry. Hey, yeah, you're breaking up.
You're
Real
breaking
bad,
up.
man. I can't.
I am, or Caleb?
What you say?
You sound like Darth
Am
Vader.
I breaking up, or
Oh,
is Caleb?
yes, I am your father.
We lost you. Go
So
ahead, Jerry. Repeat that again.
which part?
All of it?
No, the last like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Like you were breaking up real bad. 15
Oh,
seconds. He's like,
apologize.
I
You're talking
got a
about,
question.
so the
Hey, cause
COI might not be
I'm
very
curious.
high, but
I'm curious. I got a
Yeah.
question I want to throw at you when you get done.
Yeah.
Doug,
So what I do, is even though the COIs may not be high, you're still breeding to the same family by looking back through, the generations back behind. Most people these days, if they're really strategically looking at their breeding, still most people don't do much consideration past 3 generations.
yeah.
And see, that was my question. I never did it. I never even thought about it. I only think Jerry James only do this. But anyway, you got your breedings planned out, 3 generations. If Mother Nature don't take course in one of your dogs, and you got this other dog that not in your plan, you don't ever deviate from that breeding that you already got planned?
Well, I So I have the ability to do multiple test matings in my software. So I have multiple studs and breedings planned. So for instance, if I can't execute one breeding that I'm planning on, I got to back up.
Love it. Love
Contingency,
it.
baby. I'm here
You
for
a
it.
bad, you a
Love it.
bad man. You a
Love
bad
it.
man.
Well, you
And
want
you know, and that, you
to.
know, like everybody else, right? I'm always looking, um, you know, for studs for my program, but here's what, you know, here's what I do is I look at that stud, and the first thing is I make sure that the phenotype is what I want in my program, right? And then secondly, then I go to the then I go to his pedigree and the genotype, and I model that. And if it doesn't fit, um, I don't even consider using the dog in my program. I don't care what his phenotype is. And for an example, I mean, the last 3 nationals winners just don't fit my program. And I'm, you know, I won't be, not that I can afford to at the moment, but and there's out there, but they just don't fit my program. And
Yeah, and the thing is like it's good that you have that state of mind, that mentality, because you know, one of the things I notice is it's pretty common is a lot of people, they want that name, you know.
yeah,
They saw the dog in the show ring and they're just like, man, that's what I need, because obviously this dog is winning. It's out there just winning,
yeah,
top 5, like however many years in a row.
yeah.
You're sitting there, you know, super excited about that. So you're like, yeah, I absolutely, you know, think that dog is exactly what I need without, you know, really
Well,
looking into it.
I'm gonna blow
Obviously,
you
it's like,
guys. I'm gonna blow y'all's mind right now. Then,
oh, yeah.
first,
Let me sit down.
I don't care about what name the dog has got. So Janie's 2 wins from Grand Champion. Okay, my John Wayne daughter. Uh, I'm taking her to, and most people probably won't even know this dog's name, but Blue Edge Garfield. I'm taking her to a son of Blue Edge Garfield, who was a big dog in the Blue Force program. So,
Of course, I'm not familiar with the individual dogs within the.
okay, so he's a blue brindle. So
Oh, beautiful.
blue's not popular and brindle's not popular, right?
Yeah, screw it.
Okay, but
That's it.
so
Gold.
he's an all old school dog. He's 17 inches. He's 95 pounds with a 26-inch head. Now, those numbers fit the program, right? But he's an all old school dog, right? Most people won't even know the pedigree, but you know, I focus a lot on Blue Force Omen blood, and but I will tell you, when you see this dog move and his conformation, he moves every bit as good as Nationals winner Hangman, and his conformation is every bit as good. Now, I don't worry about the name, because I can take the dog, I can train it, and put it in the show ring and make its own name.
There we go.
So
That's that. I mean, that's the end game. That's the goal, is to create that dog, you know.
it's about
And
it's about the
help
dog. It's not
you.
about the name. I don't care about that
Yeah,
name.
create that dog. Yeah.
There we go. Dubtown Bullies, follow him. I love that he sticks to his vision. He has a vision before he started breeding. He's been breeding for 4 years. This is his second litter. They're calculated. The paper COI, the genetic COI, the studying he's doing, and look how he's presenting his beard tonight. When he gets a good point, he barely like puts his eyes underneath the camera.
I think
Beautiful
we see
beard,
your
Jerry. We
eyes,
see
maybe
it.
like.
We see it. That's why I keep mine short. I can't grow mine like yours.
Hey, listen, this
Let
is
me know.
his pitch. This is his, Caleb, you're missing out, man. This is his pitch for the beards, bullies, and bourbons. Get used to this. It's here to stay. Listen.
Yes, here it is. At the end, he's gonna get like
So
a business card out of his.
He's gonna be used to that. Caleb. Come on, man. Rub some
when
dirt in it.
when I met Lance Lee at a show and I saw his beard, I was like, I can do better than that.
He's got a nice beard too. Like it's nice,
No,
full.
hey,
Like
hey, that boy needs to use some product on that thing.
Wait, who? What? I feel like it's this absolute gold here.
oh my god!
I said
Hey, Jerry,
Lance needs to use some product
another
on that
question
beard
too,
of
Jerry.
his. Do what?
Oh my
Hey,
gosh!
I got a question for you.
Yeah, go
Um, seems like to me also too that you kind of want to like do it on your own. You know, not using a dog that's known to your lineage. You know what I'm saying? So you want all your credit for what you breeding. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to take a top-notch dog like Hangman and put it in your lineage. You want to be the underdog, in other words, right?
Well, it's not so much about being the underdog. You just understand that there was a type of dog that when I got into bullies, I fell in love with. Right? There was a look. There's a and it's more the old school dog, right? So
Yeah.
I like the blocky head. I like the tighter skin. I like the athleticism. But even though I'm looking at old school dogs, I'm very particular about still does that dog meet does that dog get pretty close to the standard in terms of the headpiece?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of old school dogs out there that are great, but they do have more of a terrier headpiece, and we're trying to make sure that the headpiece fits, right?
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, but I just look, my favorite color dog is blue. I love a blue bully. I know they're not popular. I mean, I have all kinds of colors, and that's another thing about me. I really don't care what color a dog is. I got all kinds of colors here. You want a color? I got it.
Yeah.
But I just care about a good dog. So I'll breed it. I don't care about the color.
Yeah.
But my favorite is blue.
Yeah.
And I know it's not popular right now.
Hey.
It used to be everything used to be blue, and now
Yeah.
now it's fawn and
Yeah.
Well,
and
I remember
I
when
still like it.
I was in
I like
Pickles, that
blue.
was a big thing.
I like
Is
it.
blue kind of came in, and then I got there like basically when I started shifting towards looking for bullies was like a little while after like lilac kind of got implemented. They were calling it champagne at the time.
yeah.
And I just remember being like, what is this? And then of course, the first American bully I get is a lilac. I mean, it's just one of those things. But yeah, I remember blue being just this crazy fad, and then all of a sudden everybody had them, and then lilac came around because now people wanted to grab at that, and then that became incredibly popular, and now it's just one of the things that there's a ton of.
Yeah, I mean Janie's a lilac tri, and she's a beautiful dog, and the new dog that's getting ready to come to the camp on a co-own. I mean, she's she's an all edge female, and she's a fawn, and she's a beautiful dog. But I just don't. I remember going to my first big show. It was down in Fort Worth, and I got down there, and like 90% of the dogs were tries, and I'm like, what the hell is all this all about? Where's the blue dogs?
Yeah.
But color. It's I mean, it just doesn't matter to me.
Where's the brindle? I love a brindle.
You don't never
I
hardly see it,
love a
man.
brindle. A blue brindle.
You don't see it much anymore. It's a dominant trait. A lot of people just don't want it, in their bloodlines, whatever. But I'm gonna tell you what, I think brindle is beautiful.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. It is.
So
It's
It is.
because it's about the dog. It's going old school like you're talking about. And to clarify too, when you're talking about old school dogs, when you're talking about old school blood in your program, what blood are we talking about?
So I call it legacy blood. I don't know, maybe a year and a half I started calling it that. And really what it is it's the old edge gaudy dogs without Dax and Miyagi.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with a lot of them.
Right. So, now, as we know, the West Coast Gotti stuff, back then, they took edge dogs, right? And then they added a little sauce, and we don't really know exactly what the sauce was, but we know it probably had a little bulldog in it. But the look that really put the bully, I feel like, on the map is when they took when they took West Coast Gotti stuff, and then it came back to edge, right? And then when they blended that, bang, and that was the look, right?
Yep.
Gotti, most
Yeah.
universal blood. Most universal blood.
Yeah.
Clicks with everything. But Edge and Gotti, yes, I love the headpiece. Like,
Yeah.
man.
And I
So, but
never
when
get away.
I'm line breeding Waffle House and the old Omen Excalibur, Dominion Excalibur blood, right? Which
Yeah.
that was Omen's daddy, which comes down with all the Blue Force stuff, and then then I throw a little bit of Dax in here, here and there, but like Buster is like 90. I mean, he's like 98% old school blood, but he has 4 crosses to Dax, right?
Yeah.
So I can't say he's
Wow.
all old school dog, but he's a very high percentage old school dog. He's mostly
8%, but 4 outcrosses to Dex.
Yeah, he's got 4 crosses to Dax, and that was on his mom's side where they bred the bus to Dax females, because he's line
They
bred
don't
bus on
they don't know who the boss
the
is.
bottom.
Huh?
Do what?
They don't know who the boss is.
A lot of people don't know who the bus is either. Well,
Hey man, hey look, where you finding all this old blood at?
well, I will tell you,
You might want to know first.
I'm fortunate living here in Oklahoma. This is where Sean Mullins lives, and he's Blue Force Bullies, right? So he owned Blue Edge Garfield and a lot of those old dogs. So here in Oklahoma, we have a lot of those old dogs around here.
Yeah.
Jerry,
But
Sinatra?
I got Buster out of Illinois.
Really?
But the funny thing is, I got Buster out of Illinois, but his sire lived 30 minutes away from me. It's one of those things, right?
Yeah.
So, so we have a lot of that old blood here in Oklahoma, and I consider it a blessing, because it's disappearing faster than you can blink. I mean, to find dogs that, I mean, like I said earlier in the podcast, a lot of the best show dogs were a blend of Dax blood and the old blood, right?
Yeah.
So of course, makes sense to do that and to always do that. But if you don't, I will always, especially now that I got this comb, because when Lily died, that really hurt that was a gut shot to my program. And I had been looking for another female that was all old blood, right? And it just so happened a couple weeks ago, a guy that I know hit me up and asked me if I would be interested in a co-own with an all edge female. She's 3 years old. She's never been bred, and I'm like, of course, I asked a million questions.
Yeah.
Weird if you didn't.
Like, because I do, and so she'll be coming. If I'm on a guess, probably sometime in November. We're trying to get our schedules together so we can get her here. But I'm excited about that. She's a beautiful dog. But what I was going to say is, I am always going to have a line of legacy blood dogs on my yard to make sure that I can always go back to. Follow me?
Absolutely.
So I will maintain a stud and a couple of females at all times.
I love that. No, because I mean, in all reality, it's not even just. It's almost like the principle of the matter. I feel because this breed, even though it's young and it's still moving forward, you know, you've got these older lineages that I mean, they're necessary in order to preserve the breed, you know. Moving forward, the changes that get made ultimately, if you know, if any, really, but like would be minimal. Like they'd be small enough that you'd still need that old school blood in order to preserve, you know,
Well,
what's
there to preserve the health and the athleticism.
right.
And look, I'm not gonna say it. So when I used to breed horses, I was more of what I would call a preservation breeder. I really believed in the history of
Yeah.
the animal, and I felt like I had a duty to do right by the animals and the history and the effort that was put in by the people who developed the
I
breed,
love
right? And I feel like me personally, we're swinging too far to the left with the bulldog. I like my bully in the middle. I like a little bit of a blend. So, and I'll give you an example. When I chose a Sriracha, Sriracha has a litter mate brother named Juggernaut, and Juggernaut is extremely popular. That's Khan's dog.
Mhm.
Been bred a lot. There were two reasons why I chose Sriracha over Juggernaut. Sriracha had a more classic looking head. He had very tight skin, and he was a blue dog. Juggernaut, I like Juggernaut, but he resembled Grim more than Sriracha did. Sriracha kind of went more back to his mom's line of old school blood, and kind of not, I mean, he had a bully style head, but it wasn't bulldog. I pay very close attention to the flues on these dogs, right? I don't
Describe what the
want,
flues are for people who don't know what those are.
it's the lips, it's the saggy,
Jack.
right? I don't want these loose, flappy bulldog looking jowls. I don't have that on my yard, and I won't. And if you read the standard, it says that you shouldn't.
Yep.
And so
Right.
I look, when it don't miss anything. I'm very particular. When I picked Janie, when I went to Lance's house, and I was picking from two females, and no joke, it came down to the lips, the flues, I mean, it was that minor, right?
I love it.
Um, so I feel like, though, when you're picking breeding dogs, that's the level of detail that you need to use.
Yeah. No, I love that
Yeah.
specific detail. And Cindy, that's funny because Corey just came in, which I know that we were talking about the collaboration y'all did, but she said Chicken Man is here.
I'm dead.
Because
I'm
Corey has
dead. He
chickens.
keeps posting funny things about their chickens, and I am dead. Like I see a chicken. Well, here's the best part, though. If I see like a video of somebody doing something just absolutely redonkulous
Like
with their
a
chickens,
chicken
I'll
running a
immediately
Roomba.
send it right. I'll send it to Vicky. I'll be like, "This your husband," and Corey pops in. He's like, "Oh yeah, I did that last week."
Yeah,
And then, like, send a
yeah.
video, like proof. Here it is.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh man.
zero shame. They're having a great time with it, which I
He said
absolutely
hashtag
dig.
cock strong.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-oh.
In the Corey
I was about to
Latham
say, is
fashion.
anybody gonna try and say that out loud?
It's gonna be me, Corey, my boy.
It's gonna be cute.
Hey Jay, what's going
It's
on,
fun.
man? Yeah.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
We got you.
My screen went blank. Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see you,
Oh,
man. We can see you and hear
all right.
you.
Well, as long as you guys can see me, my screen went black. It says 3 joining and an X where I was. So,
Yeah, we can see. Mostly the
Big
beard,
brother
but
over
we
here
can see
The
kicking
you.
us
beard
all out. It's
still looks
fine.
beautiful, my man.
thanks.
Yeah, the beard's
Thanks.
strong. The beard's
Hey, I
getting
appreciate
strong.
that.
Uh,
Yeah, it's going to. I haven't decided how long I'm going to let it grow, but I've been getting a lot of solicitations to be Santa Claus.
Hey, you
Joe,
two should.
there actually is money in that. Like Matt's well, anyways, someone it's a close family friend. He literally like that's what he does in the winter. Like
Yeah.
and he does sometimes in July when people do Christmas in July and stuff like that. So like there's a lot of times when that's some supplemental money for a retiree. Like it's pretty
See,
good.
that also means they think I got a big belly, though.
I will be your elf.
Oh man.
Oh, just make sure that his pants are big enough in
Yeah,
the
right.
back end.
Lord. Hey, but Jerry, going back to your breeding, so you said you kept 2 males. This
Yeah.
last breeding was specifically to keep a male. You kept 2 males, and you said that you were talking about picking at a year on which one you want, but then you said the possibility of keeping them both, which we know you're going to keep them both. But why a year again? Why were you going to look at them at a year? Because I know you said at 8 weeks the puppy picking process, and I know there's a reason why at a year you're going to reevaluate them. Why at a year?
I really want to see how the head pieces turn out. And when that, as they develop and that testosterone hits later on, and, around 9, that 9 to 12 month period, those heads really, really change.
Yeah.
I want to see how the cheeks develop. I want to see, then as the head shape changes, the ratio of the muzzle to the rest of the skull changes. I just want to see, how that turns out. And like I said, there's a very high chance I'm going to end up keeping them both because their phenotypes are going to be so dissimilar.
Very high.
Bama is going to be a pure pocket. There's no doubt about that. But Doc is most likely going to be a really nice classic dog. Now, he's got some pretty broad shoulders and stuff on him, so I don't know enough about how he's going to develop to what class he's, because I breed standards and pockets. So
Yeah. No, I like that. I like that you don't constrict yourself in one class,
Right.
because I think a lot of people get in their mind like, I got to stay within this class. A bull is a bull. A nice dog is a nice dog. So we should really, there is that area where you can bring in to complement what you have.
yeah, well, and the breed is not the breed is really just not old enough to have enough predictability to say when I breed these dogs, all I'm going to get is pockets.
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with especially when you're dealing with Rocco. Rocco will throw micros, standards, classics. I mean, it's
Across the board.
it's a little unpredictable there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the thing is, I've seen 2, very, very structurally awesome pockets throw a bunch of pockets and then a couple micros. Like they look just like their parents. They never breached that, either 13 or 14-inch mark, depending on female or male,
Yeah.
to meet pocket, but they look just like their parents. It's like, and it happens on accident. It's just, you inadvertently have a litter that doesn't quite have the same consistent classes within the same litter. I mean, you could have a couple classics, you could have some standards thrown in there, a pocket or two. And one of the dogs that I really enjoy talking about that aspect about is Waffle House, because he'll throw what he's bred to, even him being a pocket, like if you breed him to an XL, you're going to get Grand Champion Prodigy. Like, it's just the way that it is,
Yeah, and that's the reason why I'm leaning heavy with Waffle House. Not only is he all, old school blood, but if you want to look at a quality producer of the ratio of champion and grand champion dogs he's bred to the number of offspring that he has, I mean, he's just a phenomenal producer. And so for me, Waffle House just plays. And you go back and you look at Waffle House's pedigree, and you'll see that old Blue Force stuff in there. So, he plays a big role in my yard, not only on my pockets, but also, and like you said, He plays a big role in my pocket line, but also a big role in my standard line.
Yeah. Hey, Jerry, I'm sure you've done a paper COI on an entire litter, correct? Like, what is that diversity between the COI, like just the COI of the entire litter that you've seen, and genetically also?
You mean comparing the paper results, which would be the same for every dog in the litter,
Yeah.
versus what the genetic COI
Yeah,
came
and
back as?
then genetically, like, I'm sure if you genetically COI'd every single one of your dogs, what's that diversity that you saw in that litter between the COIs?
Well, I will tell you that the last litter that I did on the ones that I have. So the paper COI was, if I remember right, was 9.89. I think that's right. Give me just a second and I'll tell you exactly. Sitting here at the old
Y'all done made him
laptop.
go to the lab. Y'all done made him go to
Let
the
me
lab. He big now.
let me get in the lab. Let me get in the lab here. So yeah, 9.89. And the two males, their embark came back. One was 20 and one was 19.
Close.
So almost double
Yeah.
the paper number.
Jeez.
Or just a tad more than double. So, and that's the thing. So, and this is where the ancestor loss coefficient and stuff comes in as well, right? So after 10 generations, if I'm looking at an ancestor loss coefficient, that is, matter of fact, I just saw one earlier I was working on, it was down in the teens. Okay. So if I'm looking at that dog and that dog has an inbreeding coefficient of, say, 25 on paper, but when I'm looking at that pedigree and the way that it's structured, and I'm looking at the numbers, I'm thinking to myself that dog's genetic COI is going to be at least double, if not more than double, what it is on paper. And then I can kind of tell people and really caution them. Now, and I've drawn that conclusion by modeling and getting results on several, doing paper versus what they came back at. But again, we don't know what those dogs inherited without doing the genetic test. But on paper, and I do it for my program. So if I see, hang on a second, let me pull up, I got it right here on my tabs. Let me pull up my embark stuff just right quick, and I can tell you specifically what some of the variances on my dogs are. So Maggie, for instance, so Maggie's paper COI is Maggie on paper is 5.68, okay?
Mhm.
But her genetic COI is 16. So almost 3 times what her paper number is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just don't know on paper, what they're going to inherit, right? So Janie, for instance, Janie is, let's see, there's Janie. Janie is, Janie on paper is 4.64, but genetically, she's 21.
Wow.
So there can be some pretty good variances.
Genetics. Crazy.
Yeah. And see that, and like I said, that if we just knew, you know, when we got those genetic results, right? Who's, you know, what lines in the pedigree, you know, whose genetics were dominating who,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where the concentration of the genetics were, and that would really help us plan our breedings. But, you know, right now the technology is just not there to do that kind of thing. Buster is 3.85 on paper, but he's 18% genetically.
It's wild.
Yeah.
So I've seen swings. So
Yeah.
we've got Maggie. We've got, you know, as much as, you know, 4 or 5 times higher when a dog is really low, and I've seen variances within only 5%. So it, you know, it really does vary quite a bit. But when I look at the, let's see, Buster, his ancestor loss coefficient after 10 generations is 27.33. A lot of commonality the further you go back.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, you know, pit bull genetics from way back, right? I mean, the pit bull and the bulldogs and things been bred for hundreds of years, and they have very strong genetics, right? And so a lot of those traits get passed down and are inherited generation after generation after generation.
Yeah.
And then that's why it's so difficult to change some of the features. Like, for instance, let's talk about a the rear end, for instance.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier, there's so many traits that are involved. There's no one gene. It's a collection called polygenic traits, right? There's all kinds of, you know, you have your gene, and then there's a whole string of other genes that affect, they're basically like modifiers of a gene, and they determine whether or not that gene is turned on or whether it's turned off. And you've got all these different genes that go into determining what the rear assembly looks like, right? So when you're trying to fix that rear assembly, you're fighting against a whole bunch of different genes.
Swimming up current.
Do what?
You're swimming against the current.
Yeah, you really are. And so when you guys asked me earlier, would there be a case where I might do an inbreeding? Okay.
Oh.
If I really needed to fix, let's say I had 2 dogs that were closely related, and they had, you know, the rear assembly that I needed, right?
Yeah.
I may do that inbreeding just so I can increase my chances of fixing that rear assembly trait, you know. Now I may not get everything else, but if I get the rear assembly, then I can work on the rest of it. But the rear assembly seems to be a real difficult thing. It typically takes 3 or 4 generations to kind of get sorted out of very selective breeding.
Oh yeah. Someone had asked that earlier. That's like, would you say that that's one of the hardest things to
Cody, I
get
think
correctly fixed?
Cody somebody.
Yeah, Cody.
Yep.
Yeah, Cody asked that earlier, and I figured we were going to get to it eventually because even I answered, I was like, yeah, it's up there. It's like literally probably top 3 hardest things to combat, you know, and it's one of the things that probably is going to take more than 1 generation to fix, you know.
Well, it is. I mean, you think about how many just little things are involved in a good rear assembly, right?
So many moving parts.
From the angle of the croup to the tail set to the, you know, the turn of the stifle, the width, the width of the thigh, you know, the length of the tail. I mean, so many things that are in play there, you know, and yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can. Yeah. So it's definitely one of those things that's like, if you already have that rear assembly, don't mess with it.
I was just going to say, yeah, don't mess it up.
Whatever you do, don't fuck that up. Like, try so hard, fight tooth and claw to preserve that trait. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Because once you lose it, it could take generations to get it back.
Yeah. So, for instance, so last year's litter, I have 3 females from Maggie's litter last year, all nice little pockets, right? Ranging from 14.5 to 15.5 inches tall, real short back, thick little girls.
Yeah.
But they need a little bit bigger head,
Yeah.
But so we got to work on. So we got to work on them heads a little bit, and the head is a tough one too.
Yeah, absolutely. John Ronacher was on here last week, basically saying that's one of the first things that a lot of judges will look at is that first defining feature is, does it have the American Bully head piece? So yeah, absolutely. It's definitely important for sure.
Hey,
Yeah,
Jerry, so
he
you said
made a comment on Buster's head when he was when I showed under him. He was like, "Man, I love that dog's head."
Yeah.
I'm like,
That
"Thank
dog's
you very much."
Buster's
down.
got a dome. I didn't know he was so young.
Oh my gosh.
Buster's a nice bull, man.
Oh
Yeah.
Very
he's finally just at the age where I'm working with him, with the weighted vest and things like that. So he has all his points to be a champion. We lack one major, so
yeah. Oh,
I'm hoping to get that in November.
yes. So
Nice.
you said you started with a female. You've done 2 breedings with her. In the first breeding, you kept 3 females. You just said.
Yeah.
Why? Express the importance of a female.
Well, one of the females I kept kind of just out of necessity because I couldn't sell her.
All right, that'll do it.
Yeah, right. So check this out. So she was, and
A blessing in disguise.
admittedly, she was the most terrier looking of the females from the litter, right? When we took pictures at 11 weeks old with professional photo shoot, I'm looking through the pictures and I'm like, yeah, she, she'd be good brood stock because she was quality, otherwise. But I'm like, that headpiece just not doing it for me, And I didn't have any luck selling her, and when she turned about nine months old, that headpiece completely changed.
Oh yeah.
And she's got a nice stop and that deep crease in her, in her skull and everything, and she's slightly longer, and I mean slightly longer back than the other two because the other two are very short backed. But she's a damn nice dog, and I'm like, well, shoot, I'm glad nobody bought her.
Win-win.
No,
So what I'm doing, guys, to develop this is all 3 of those females will be bred. 2 of them I already know. So Jenny was, all 3 of those females are sired by a Waffle House son, Grand Champion Chicken and Waffles. Okay, so he's the only as far as I know, he's the only old school son of Waffle House. Most of his other sons have some Dax and things like that. Most of the time they cross them with a Dax blood female, right?
Yeah.
And so Jenny is going to be bred to Grand Champion John Wayne, who's Chicken and Waffles half brother.
Love John Wayne. I love that dog.
And then
Love that dog.
the other one that I'm talking about that I couldn't sell, she's going to be bred to Champion Bad Mother Tugga that Gaines Bullies own, and he is a Waffle House son also. And Sadie, I just still don't know yet. She's the shortest and the thickest of them.
Okay.
And I just haven't really decided what direction I'm taking her. But at least 2 of those females will be line bred back to Waffle House.
Nice.
But different obviously different sons, right, of Waffle House.
Right, right, exactly. So you're also
Well,
taking
yeah,
into consideration what the dam that Waffle was taken to is implementing.
exactly, exactly. So then I can build on that, and then when I get where I need to outcross, then I'll go back to one of the boys that I'm keeping off of Maggie's litter this year.
I love how you're producing your outcrosses too.
Do I?
I love how you're producing your outcrosses while you're line breeding the line that you're trying to keep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so here's the thing, and look, there are not a lot of people anymore these days that are actually building programs. They're doing what I call they're
Yes.
microwave breeding,
Yeah.
right?
Breeding to breed. 4 minutes. They're 3 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
oh.
And I believe the breed deserves better than that. And so I develop my own outcross lines so I know what to expect from it. And I don't look, I'm still going to breed to outside dogs if they fit the program, and if they have they may still have a particular attribute that I really need, there's no such thing as a perfect dog, but you've got to try to fix the things when you sit down and when you evaluate that dog and you see what it's lacking. You've got to go, if it's not on your yard, you've got to go try to find it.
Listen to what he's saying.
Yeah.
I love this. This is good dog talk. This is how you pair up breedings. This is how you line up breedings for success. And like you said, there is very, very, very few programs now. He breeds 3 generations ahead, so he is lining these up for line breedings and got his outcrosses for those. Love it, Jerry.
Hey, he said he got to go find it. He
So,
just don't breed to another, he got to go find it.
Yeah.
oh yeah, you got to search, and so Lance and I are working on something right now that we won't know how it's going to turn out it'll come to fruition in about 3 years.
Ooh, long game.
But
Chestnut checkers.
that's, chestnut checkers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only regret that I have is I didn't get to start when I was a lot younger, like I did. For instance, I started breeding horses when I was about 31. And,
Last year, Jerry?
do what?
That was just last year?
Yeah, no, man, I'm 50. I'm
My man.
59 now. And, I do sometimes think that I'm not going to be able to really see the end of my work, but I'm going to put every ounce of thought and effort into every breeding to do my best. It's more about the I guess at one point I was just like, I'm just going to enjoy the ride, and wherever it ends up, but I'm going to try to breed the best dogs and enjoy the joy that they give me, because when I found the American Bully, I was in a really dark place. As you guys know, I've had 10 back surgeries. I've been through a lot. I'm disabled. I've been through hell and back, and the Bully really did so much for me, and I'm just like, I'm going to put all of me into these dogs for however long it lasts. And, I'm not going to tell the IRS this, but I don't care if I ever make a dime. I just want to produce dogs that give people great joy. And I want to produce, because I'm extremely competitive, I want some dogs that I can kick it in the show ring with.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I love
And
I mean,
I'm very stubborn. I'm going to drag my old school dogs out there in that ABKC show ring, whether they like it or not.
hey, listen, whatever works. I mean, honestly, I mean, there were some this last nationals. There were some previous either national winners or, grand champions that were brought out of retirement, to come to nationals and kick it in the show ring. I mean, hell, grand champion Slim Shady, Helios's great granddad, he came out of retirement. Dima brought him out, and and I think Hannah. I think it was Hannah that took him into the ring, and it was just one of those things. I was like, holy snap! All right, I see it. Okay, all right, I see you, and you look good. You look good. So it's just like, yeah, absolutely, bring them out. I mean, even Blue technically came out of retirement to be at that nationals.
Yes.
He retired. They brought him out of retirement to compete against his own son, which was phenomenal. I think that was a beautiful touch, very iconic. Yeah, and it was just one of those things where, you got to see some legacy. You got to see some actual legacy in real time in that ring. It's fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Jerry, so are you bringing Buster to nationals this year?
No, I'm not going to bring Buster to nationals.
Well,
so here's why. Here's why, guys. I'm very honest about my dogs. Buster has a lot of great qualities, but he does have a short tail, and he doesn't have as good a rear assembly as I would like, as is needed. Had he had a tail up to standard and a little bit better rear angulation, I mean, we would have grand champ probably by now. But when it comes, I mean, it's very competitive out there, and when it comes to, the little things, right? So I'll give you, for instance, him and the dog Gaines Bully's own Tugboat, Bad Mother Tugga, right? Him and Buster competed, a lot, but Tug became a champion before Buster. Tug is a bigger dog, a little bit more correct, a better rear assembly, and a longer tail. He's got that pump handle tail, right, that you want, and which is one of the reasons I'm breeding one of my females to him. But so Buster just, we went to Albuquerque in June, looking for that last, that last major, and we didn't get it, and we got beat by better dogs. So I know my dog's weaknesses, and if he was just a little bit better, then we might go, but
he's such a beautiful bull. Like, you're talking about such specific fine tuning of things, and I love it. Because again, you're a program that's bettering the breed. Every breeding, it's bettering your program, and it's continuing it 3 generations ahead, like you said. I love it, Jerry.
Well, I think you need to, you got to be honest about what's on your yard. As a matter of fact, I have sometimes I think that I need to let one of the triplets go. But I have asked someone that I trust, that I know has a great eye for a dog, to come and evaluate my yard.
Ooh, that's a gamble.
And
you ready?
Oh, absolutely. I don't mind. I don't mind. Look, if you really want to breed great dogs, you're not going to mind constructive criticism.
That's right.
There we go.
For that second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth opinion. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, of course, the key is to have someone that has, that really has a good eye and understands the dogs, and then also,
don't bring the wrong person, Lord.
Yeah, don't get the wrong person, right?
What?
And
So you're saying get rid of all of them except for that one over there? Like, oh my gosh.
Right, and
like, why did I even
also
call
somebody
you,
that's not afraid to tell you the truth.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Hold you accountable.
Yeah. And I think if you're friends with people, and that they're putting effort into their program and everything else, I think you're in a respectful way, you're obligated to point things out. Now, I never offer an evaluation of a dog
Until I,
either online or in person unless I'm asked.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep my opinions to myself. You know, I do my thing, and then, you know, I just move on,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the thing is we've got to start being honest with ourselves. And one of the things that I love that you have brought up with literally every single dog that you've spoken on your yard and in your program, like you have pointed out the things you'd like to correct, the flaws they have, what they lack. You know, and that is something that a lot of people have the tendency to kind of try to look over completely. You know, it's kennel blindness is a problem, and you know, I mean, I may love my dogs, and I may think that they are beautiful. I will always think that my dogs are beautiful. My
of
XL,
course,
you know, he's not as big as some of the other XLs out there. He's a little bit more on the lean side, the lean, mean, muscled. But but that's also because I keep him that way on purpose, just so we're clear. If I let his body do what it wants to do, he's going to be a little bigger than he is.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I do that to keep the weight off his joints. You may laugh, but this is my fault. I do this. But the thing is while he may be in my mind what I would prefer, I know better. And I'm just like, I know that he's,
yeah.
you know, I would love to shorten that torso by X amount of inches, shorten that muzzle by X amount of inches. I'd love to bring his height down by an inch at the withers. You know what I mean? Like there's things I want to do.
Yeah.
And I may love him and think that may be my preference, but I know that that's not what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Like, so I'll be the first person to dissect my own dogs, because that's kind of where you have to be. You have to be realistic, and I'll be damned if I'm going to contribute to, you know, an ongoing problem.
Well, and the reality of it is it's not a natural thing to be super critical of,
Absolutely.
you know, something that you love, right?
Right. It goes against kind of some fibers, like some
Yeah.
fibers of your being. It's
And
like, oh, I love this dog so much.
Emotions are going to play an effect of your opinion. Absolutely.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
so as a breeder, in order to really further things, then you just it's counterintuitive. I mean, you know, you got to take the emotion out of it, and you've just got to be very deliberate about the choices that you make, and it takes a lot of discipline to do that. But if you're playing God, don't you owe that to the breed? I guess is the way I look at it,
I
and
love
you know.
No, I love that. I love that mindset. Absolutely. I mean, the breed's in the hands of the community. Like at this point, like we're responsible for this. Like it's released to the public. Like, so we're steering.
Yes, and what Jerry said, when we're playing gods, when we are dictating the male that the female is going to, and we are making sure those pairings take place, we are playing God. So do the breed right, do the female right, do the male right,
Do the work, do the research. Yeah.
Well,
yes.
you think about it, when you're done breeding, and you know, or you're, you know, and your program's done, but and that's not that's the cool thing about whether it's breeding horses or breeding dogs or whatever, you know, your legacy or what you did lives on past you. The genetic choices, the things that you made, you know, are there for somebody else to pick up. Well, did you make their job easier, or did you make it harder?
Right.
Man,
No,
true
absolutely.
talk. Like Jerry, I've been following you for like 3 years. Like I love the evolution of your program. Like I love seeing you literally out there with a shovel building your program. Making
Yeah,
these
physically
kennels.
building it. Yes.
Like I remember when you were on break, seriously, at what, it was the AutoZone?
Yeah.
And every time I saw you that I was able to, I would view in. And this man has been spitting gems for so long. He knows the knowledge, but he gives it. And that's what makes him so different. And bringing him on tonight, you know, we've brought him on multiple times, and we're going to bring him on again. As long as he's willing to accept, we're going to bring him on. But this is why we're bringing him on, because I bring these up. Talking about the pairings of breedings, talking about the puppy picks, talking about all these things tonight, really taking consideration what he's brought to the table, and follow his page, because there's more that's constantly going on there. So, man, Jerry, I just want to give your flowers before we get off tonight. Like, whenever we do, I'm good for whenever. But, man, keep doing what you're doing. Like, I love it. Like, man, and again, watching you with the shovel out there. You're building a fence. You're building a perimeter. You're building these kennels. Like, it's process by process. And I love it because you're not rushing it. You're doing it right. And that's what people need to really see. Like, don't rush it. A program does not happen overnight. No. A program is happening before our eyes, though, and that's Dubtown Bullies.
Well,
absolutely.
You got to wait for these dogs to grow up, and you got to wait for the results, and then you got to figure out what you're going to do. And you know, a lot. And I was listening to matter of fact, I was listening because I listen to a lot of podcasts, guys. I consume a lot of information, and if I can listen to, you know, if I listen to 10 hours worth of podcasts, you know, in 1 week, and I take away one piece of information that can help further my my thought process and stuff, it was 10 hours well spent. You never know what that one piece of information is really going to do for you. And you know, I study a lot of, you know, and things like that, but it's you know, shoot, my thought process, my wagon went off the rails there. It's that's, I don't know whether that's age or whether that's medication, but or the bourbon, not sure. But
take your pick.
yeah.
But
it takes I know what it was. When I was listening to Raul, you know, a lot of people, you know, that are breeding, they really struggle, and I have, you know, on my first litter, I mean, that was rough. I mean, I ended up, you know, I mean, I didn't sell as many puppies as I expected to out of a great breeding, and turned out to be some great dogs. But you know, these days a lot of people expect a big old fat bulky puppy, you know, and you know, and that's what they're looking for. And you know, and I got one of those puppies. I chose. I mean, he was a really nice dog, but he was big, boned up, everything else. And when he was 2 years old, he was 16 inches tall and 65 pounds. I mean, just because that puppy is the biggest of that litter doesn't mean that dog is going to turn out to be the biggest of the litter when they mature. But so I was listening about breeders, you know, years 2, years 3, years 4 are still pretty tough, because it's like any business, right, that you're building. It takes years. You've got to put in that foundation. And a lot of times, you know, you start out like I did. I bought dogs that, you know, as puppies I really liked, and then when they got older, they didn't turn out. You know, so do I breed those dogs? I waited 2.5 years on one male, because at times I would get glances that he wasn't stiff in the stifles, and he was a beautiful dog, one of the prettiest headpieces I've ever seen. And I would see glimpses, and I'm like, nah, he's not stiff in the stifle. He's not stiff in the stifle. Well, I kept waiting. Finally, 2.5 years old. Damn it, yeah, he's stiff in the stifles. I had the you know, the X-rays on his hips and elbows, and one side was good and the other side wasn't, and I ended up pet homing. You know, 2.5 years invested. You know, and he didn't work out, and the female, she didn't work out. You know, and it's like, so sometimes when you're starting out, you know, you're going to hit some bumps, you know, but if you really want to build a program, if you will, and not many people are these days. Again, we get back to that, but
Yeah.
like any business, you've got to expect the bumps, the setbacks, and you just got to have the determination to just work through those things and rely on people that you can trust for advice.
Yeah, so
Yes.
mentorship is big. It's super big.
Jerry,
You
I
got
loved
to
it.
have the right
Yes,
mentors.
I love it that you literally are peeling back your program, though, and you said that you are bringing someone that you consider a mentor if you're going to take their guidance to show them your program and say, hey, what do you think? Like that's
Yeah, I mean, and I'm pretty good at picking dogs, and I'm pretty good at evaluating dogs, and I feel like I really know what the weaknesses of my dogs are, but I still want somebody else. I want another opinion. I want somebody else to come and really look at them,
I love
you
it.
know? And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm going to get
Yeah.
rid of the dogs, but we may have a conversation about which direction maybe I need to go with certain
No,
dogs, you know?
that avoids kennel blindness, and I love that because the accountability, and that's why I say that obviously that you see them as a mentorship person because you're willing to accept their criticism. You're willing to sit
Yeah,
there and say, critique my dog and let's talk about it. But that's
yeah,
what needs to take place with this breed, so we really critique these dogs. Again, emotions play in a lot of opinions. I love my dog, but you're going to see something and you're going to open my eyes, and I need to be willing to accept that criticism and say, I do need to fix that. And I love that you're
well,
willing to accept that offering.
and I would do that for anybody else as
Yeah.
well if they wanted me to really look at their dog, you know, and same kind of thing, because I think we all need to help each other, but
Yes.
again, we need to make sure that the help we get is qualified help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that is important. If you're going to have somebody come in and basically, assess what's going on, assess what you have, kind of give you a good insight as to like where you might need to go, then yeah, make sure it's the informed, opinion. You're dealing with somebody that wants to see you succeed, but they want you to do it ethically, and they want you to have all the tools, in your arsenal. Because some people that'll just be like, nah, it's crap, throw it all out.
Yeah.
Or it'll be like, no, man, I love you to death, I love your dogs, everything looks great, it's all fine, everything's fine. And that doesn't help you either, not when everything's
No,
not fine.
sometimes people just don't want to hurt your feelings, and I'm not, it's it can't be, again, and that's the thing too, that's why I don't comment on other people's dogs and things unless I'm asked. It's a thing to remember that you know almost, and I would say most everybody loves their dogs that they have. I mean, they're working, they're feeding them and everything, and the last thing they want is unsolicited criticism.
Yeah. Exactly. But I love it because all three of y'all that are on this live with me, I know that if I sit there and said, hey, break down this dog to me, and if it's the dog that I produced, y'all would give me the criticism that I need. But that's why I asked y'all. And that's what I like, because y'all would break it down in a point where, hey, you really want me to? All right, let's do it. But that needs to be the community. Let's be real with each other, but let's be willing to accept that as well. Like you said, like, yes, people need to ask for it because you don't want to just give that because people get their feelings hurt and things like that. But
Yeah.
the mentorship program, it's so important. Like, find you a right mentor that can really hold you accountable to things. And Jerry, I appreciate that you're doing that and that you're willing to give that criticism. So if you want a dog broke down, ask him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, again, we're we're caretakers of something that we've been blessed with, and I just feel like it's our responsibility to do better.
Yeah.
oh, absolutely. Now, I do have to say though, the moment that you said that you're having somebody who you trust come in and basically assess all of your dogs in your program, the very first thing that my head went to was Office Space, when they had Bob and Bob come in and like analyze everyone's job and pick things apart and everything. But obviously, it's one of those things where, you definitely obviously want someone to come in and look at what's going on and look at where improvements can be made and everything. It may not be Bob and Bob, it's who you're hiring, but at the same time, it's
Oh my gosh, what a terrible comparison.
I know, right? Yeah.
like, right. But Bob and Bob ended up being pretty cool. If you remember, like, you actually watched the movie. Bob and Bob turned out to be some
No.
pretty.
But no, that is funny though. But that is cool that you're peeling back the layers and that you're offering that. And then The Office, I haven't seen that episode, but Bob and Bob, I bet it's so funny. I need to see that episode, but yeah,
Oh no, The Office based the movie.
It's what?
Movie,
Well,
it's not The Office. It's not the same thing.
My apologies.
Yeah, that's right. You apologize. You are sorry.
and I haven't really been never really, so I haven't had a what you would call a mentor in the breed as I've kind of gone through this through this process. But I did have experience, being a horse breeder, going to horse shows, raising animals, the animal husbandry part of things and stuff. So it wasn't like I was like super new, but there could have been some things that, if I'd have been helped out just a little bit in the beginning, I could have avoided some pitfalls,
Mm-hmm.
So if you do, are fortunate enough to get a mentor that's going to be, honest with you, and the thing is if you get a mentor, then you need to come in with, the right mindset, and consume that information, but always be, I would say, always be very appreciative that somebody is giving, of their time to help you out and help guide you, and I'll do that for, anybody that really wants to, to do better. I'm always available to help out, but I have used, guys like, your podcast and Caleb, I appreciate you always being a supporter of me. I'm not I was always not really sure why, but you've always been a fan, and I greatly appreciate that. But all these guys that are out there doing podcasts and giving away, free information in a lot of ways are surrogate mentors, as long as you can kind of discern that they really know what they're talking about, kind of thing. But there's a lot of guys out there, that just give away great information, every week,
Get mentors. I like that. That's
and 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 myself excluded, the quality of guests that you guys bring on, and you guys have evolved, since you got started and everything, but you guys bring out some great guests and opportunities to learn and things like that, and it's uh, education is an active endeavor. It's a two-way street. You have to be engaged, in order to be educated on things, and so it takes effort, and being a breeder is something that just requires a lot of dadgum effort, as you guys well know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, I'm gonna correct you right there. You said yourself excluded. No. Yourself included with a great guest. We've had you on multiple times, and we're gonna have you on multiple more times. The reason why I've always supported you is because what you stand for and what you've said tonight. I saw that when you were on break at AutoZone and you were talking dog and just every time I could get in on it, just listening to you. You have taught me so much just listening to you, so we appreciate you, and I applaud you.
absolutely. Yeah, you can be as modest and as humble as you want to. We're not. We're gonna.
We ain't gonna allow it. We ain't gonna allow it.
We're not gonna allow that. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. No,
All right.
You
Well,
do Casco. You
I
do collect
expect
$200, sir.
I expect to have a big line of people that want to buy dogs next spring. Then
There we go. Follow his
We'll
podcast.
get the
Follow his
spot on the
podcast.
show to
Hey, and
talk about
again,
it.
follow his program and his podcast. Tomorrow night he's coming on. And again, the next 5 that lock him in for the COI, $50. That is
Yes.
half off. And hey, if you want to know the extension of the program, ask him or just go back on the live because he shows you 16, 17 pages. He's sending you 5 generations of COI.
Oh, yeah.
$50.
I mean,
Next
it's
5 people.
data on data.
Actually, 4
Mhm.
people
well,
because I'm one.
and I do another thing too, guys, where I take for $250 I will take 5 dogs, okay, and I will take those 5 dogs and I will model them out for you 3 generations forward. Follow?
Explain.
Okay, so what I would do, say you've got 2 males and 3 females, okay? So you've got a lot of different combinations of possible breeding combinations, right? Not only in the first generation and the second generation, but also in the third, right? So what I do is I create what I call a phantom dog, a placeholder, if you will, and we'll model stud A with female A, stud A with female B, stud A with female C, and then we'll take male number 2 and model against those 3 females.
Man,
Then we'll take those offspring and then we'll model those forward in the next generation, right? So I'll take those 5 dogs, model them forward for 3 generations to see where you're at and see how things fit, right? And it's a fair amount of work, but I do that, and I offered that probably a year ago, and nobody took me up on it.
Man, that is literally showing your program with a light, not a
3
greeting.
generations
Your
out.
program with
Yeah.
a light for $250. This man is
Dang.
dissecting 5 dogs, multiple generations to show, hey, stud A, female B, things like that, and how it's going to align going forward. Wow.
I told you, Jerry, bad man. I told you he the only one doing it.
Man, that's wild. Like
This is your
$250,
go-to.
literally,
It ain't
it's
sugar.
shining a magnifying glass on what is to come in your program.
Mhm.
It
It's cutting
y'all
out
should
a lot of mystery, man. I mean, and the thing is again, we've discussed this. Adam and I call it genetic Russian roulette. It is literally, it starts to cut down on those dark corners. Obviously, the paper COI is a great first step to kind of, again, add a little bit more predictability, take away some of that mystery. Then you add the actual genetic testing in with that. And at that point, you're playing with tools you can actually see. The room is well lit. Like, it's just one of those things where it's just like, it just takes away the guessing game,
Well,
one
the
little
thing
piece at a time.
is if you can avoid one misstep with a dog, for
Right.
instance, and I mean, what's that worth to you? You know what I mean?
exactly for $250. Justin, hey, you said that you're not far enough into it. That is the perfect time to do it. Do it
Well,
before you
I
get
think
too
what
far
he's saying is
invested into it.
he
Your
may not have
foundation.
5 dogs.
Yeah, do it with that foundation. Like, literally, like, walk into it eyes wide open.
Yes,
You're
and then
taking those foundation dogs, and then you're at that point you can start to better determine whether or not those need to be your foundation, or if they, if it is a good foundation, where you can take them. If you need to keep them internal, or if you want to do an outcrossing and things like that. I mean, walk into it with eyes wide open. I mean, that would be a good way to do that if you already have a decent number of dogs to start your program with.
yeah.
For sure.
Like, I love it.
Absolutely.
It's like test mating, but then you're going genetic. Like, I love going on Pitpedia and like doing the test mating and looking at them, aligning them, and seeing how they correspond with each other and things like that. Where the consistencies come from, I love that. But Jerry's taking it such a step further.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at test mating, but it's paper COI in depths of generations and how these dogs could align for $250.
Well, it's basically a glimpse of where you would be 6 years from now. You know, if
Yeah.
everything went, you
That's
know.
your
You're
five-year
Jimmy for
plan.
$250. Where will I be?
Yeah, $250
Man.
will tell you what your 5-year plan is and if you need to change it.
But I love it because that's exactly what it is. It's looking ahead.
So I mean, that's basically, you know, if you got, I mean, up to 5 dogs, right? So I mean, it's basically $50 a dog for 3 generations. I mean, that's a hell of a deal, you know.
Agreed. Absolutely.
But you know, uh, I guys, I just look, I charge, you know, for the service because, you know, it can take me up to 7 hours
Yeah,
to model,
I know that.
you know,
And your time
to
is money.
put a dog in, right? I've entered almost 8,000 dogs, 8,000 individual dogs into my software in the last 3 years. And I mean, it just, when you think about, you know, when there's almost 2,000 dogs in a 10 generation pedigree, you know, it takes some time. And so, yeah, I charge for the service, but, you know, I'm more interested really in just helping the community and helping our breed, you know, avoid, you know, I mean, not only are we doing, you know, breeding planning, but what I'm really trying to do, and the whole reason why it started was I saw a lot of very risky, indiscriminate breeding in certain pockets of our breed back, you know, back when. And I was like, you know, maybe I need to shed some light on this and maybe help out if I can help out. And that's what I've been trying to do. I've just been trying to help out.
I love that. I love that. It's a very selfless thing, and the fact that you're able to reach so many people with it and to affect so many programs, and then when they start breeding, that's part of your legacy as well because you helped orchestrate some of that. I mean, it stretches a lot further than just the breedings that you personally are doing. Like, you're
Yeah.
teaching people how to breed better, which means every better breeding they do can be attributed to the information you provided. That's pretty big.
Yes.
That's pretty damn big, man.
Well, I never really looked at it that way, but yeah.
Yes, as you should. Earlier you said that you're getting older and you wish that you would have got into this younger because you wish you would have affected the breed longer.
Yeah.
Jerry, your impact has already been stamped.
Yeah.
And it's going to be stamped further and further and further. Like, I love what you're doing. Continue doing what you're doing, but give yourself more credit than what you're doing because you are a breed advocate.
Oh,
you're not just a breeder, you're a breed advocate. And what you're giving people, that is pennies on the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're getting, and I know that you're going to do a whole lot more than 7 hours. You are a perfectionist with this because you want to give the people the right information. So you're going to dissect it. So you say that it might take you 7 hours for this. It's going to take you a whole lot longer, but you're only going to charge for that because you enjoy it, because you enjoy giving them the correct information to further the breed forward.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do whatever, you know. I mean, it's a flat rate thing, and it'll take whatever it takes. What I was saying, you know, it can take up to 6-7 hours. Just, let's just say a dog doesn't exist in a dog is not part of one of the 8,000 that I already have in the software. Let's say I got a start. I have to put that dog in from scratch, right? It takes about 6 hours, 6-7 hours to do that.
Man, your time is valuable, though. It is incredibly valuable, and it has helped more people than you even are aware of. You got a big footprint, man.
So it's you know, it can be very time consuming, and you know, but that's okay. Again, you know, it's really kind of a passion because I'm always interested in seeing how it turns out. I get excited about how it turns out. What are we going to see? You know, what are the numbers going to be? What, you know, and so
Yeah. Hey, Jerry. So I know, you know, you're offering this incredible promotion tonight, and I love it. But, you know, we're coming to a time of year where you're going to get very busy. And I just want to make sure that this is going to still be in the time results because, you know, Christmas is coming up. And I know that you said that you were being sought after as Santa Claus. So
Yeah, I'm not doing
business still
no
as normal
Santa. I ain't
between
doing no
Christmas
Santa Claus.
holidays.
You know,
No,
the cycles are
no.
going
I
on.
knew
We
you
don't
was
even
gonna punch
Christmas
below the
on
belt. I
that,
knew
you
you was
know?
coming with something.
I'm, I turn down every Santa Claus offer I get.
Oh, bah humbug.
Oh,
Well, I'm gonna say this: my beard's not long enough yet.
Oh, your beard game
perfectionist.
is pretty strong, though, bro.
He
Pretty,
got that beard
it
game
is
on now.
strong.
Oh,
Hey,
man.
I had to shave this. This thing got shaved off. Let's see, what's April? About a year and a half ago. I had been growing it for 18 months, and then I had to have thyroid surgery, and they basically hacked it up, and then I had to shave it off. So this is beard number 2.
Okay.
This is beard number
2.0? Beard 2.0.
0.5.
Yeah, this is
You
beard
got that
2.0. It's
upgrade.
I'm trying to think. April. Let's see, it's October, so I'm 18 months into this one. So I was 18
Did that
months
work?
and then had to shave it off. And see, I used to ride Harleys, and but I had a job. I was a purchasing manager, supply chain manager, aerospace, large OEM manufacturer type work, right? And so was never really appropriate to have just a big old beard and that kind of thing. So I always wanted a big biker beard, right?
You got it.
And so when I when I retired, I'm like, you know what? And I debated for probably 4 years after I retired. And I'm like, ah.
It's beard
So
or not to beard?
do what?
The beard or not to
Yeah,
beard? That's the
exactly. So then
question.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And my mom hates it because she's like, it makes you look so old. And I'm like, yeah. And
Thank you, Mom.
and Shauna loves it. She's like, don't you ever shave. So I'm like, hey, you know,
I'm here for you, babe.
yeah.
Happy wife.
But
Gotta say, you know.
it's
No, I had a
it's a
coworker
lot of
that like
work.
he had a decent, like it was a nice, very well rounded, very well kept, and he came in today to work and completely clean shaven. I was like, "Are you? What are you doing
Oh
in my office?"
no.
And it turns out he's just like, "My wife made me do it." I was like, "No,
Nah,
bro,
that's
so sorry."
if it that if his wife made him do it, that's a cup check.
It's just one of those things. It's like, why? Why would you? Oh God.
If we ever see Jerry clean shaved, we're gonna be like, "Mama got to him. Mama got to him."
No. Anybody that's ever grown a beard like this understands the commitment that it takes, because you go through phases where it aggravates the hell out of you, and
I already
you're
know.
spending all kinds of money on product, and every day you're doing something to moisturize, or the product that you use to make it presentable. And mine's a very wavy, curly, so I constantly I have to use a styling brush and a blow dryer, and so it takes 20 minutes just to kind of straighten it out,
Yeah.
right?
Dog.
Yeah,
And
how do you straight? Just take a comb and a blow dryer. Like, how does
I
this work, sir?
wish I had
Because you
these
got a pretty
problems.
little
10 seconds.
well,
tutorial.
hey, Caleb, that's why I don't have any hair on my head.
Neither do I.
So I don't, so that's the only thing I have to worry about styling. But
Oh,
I even had somebody hit me up for to do like a product placement, because they make beard products.
yeah. Man, I don't have hair anywhere. Oh my God.
But it takes months. And in this case, I mean, I'm 18 months in, right? It takes months and
Oh, yeah.
just But hey, you know what the good thing about it is? When I go to a dog show, I'm not hard to find. He's that guy over there with that big old beard.
Just like, there's the beard. I see that. I see it. I see it. It's sort of like Lance has his height. Like you
I
just
was
like,
gonna say
there he is.
that's how you find Lance. He's the big giant dude down there with the beard.
Yeah, with the nappy beard.
Like,
Like Jerry said, not me, Lance. I like it.
Hey, and I'll tell you what, you know, we talk about mentors and things like that,
Mhm.
but you know, Lance is one of the greatest guys in the bully community. He was when I was just getting started. He was so he was so warm and welcoming, and I just had questions and everything, and and then things evolved, and it ended up, and now I'm in the BWO, and him and I are really good friends, and it's just he's just a super guy, and not only that, just he's one of those guys that is just, I mean, he's just solid, right? Whatever he says is what he does, and he's kind of like me, and I think that's why we get along so well. We're very, very committed to just making good quality dogs, and we care about we care about all aspects of the dogs, and I think that's why we get along so well. But he's been great.
yeah, like any interaction that I've had with him, and I remember the first time I want to say the first time I physically met him was at the very first nationals I'd gone to, and ever since then, seeing him at all the more local shows here down in the southeast, it's just like he automatically just picked me out of the crowd. We talked dogs. And I got to talk dogs with his daughter, and it's just one of those things where it's like it becomes a family affair just so naturally, and it's just so cool. Again, just like you said, he is just so warm and welcoming. Yeah, Lance Lee is that dude. He is that dude.
Yeah,
Lance is
and
Lance.
John boy,
100%.
and John Wayne does not get near the love that boy deserves.
Yeah.
I love that dog.
Hey, and Jerry, to make sure I heard you correct too. So your Maggie is a John Wayne daughter, correct?
No, Janie is.
Janie, I'm sorry, Janie. But then you said that a Janie daughter is being bred back to John Wayne, correct?
No, so yeah, a Maggie daughter who was sired by Chicken and Waffles, who's a Waffle House son.
I just want to make sure I heard you correctly.
Yeah.
I like that.
So it's a line breed to Waffle House using different sons and a Maggie daughter, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a line breed, but it's not.
Yes.
No,
I mean,
like
it's not.
It's
Very
not
nice
super close. But if you give me like just a second, I can tell you what it is. My laptop timed out here, but let's see.
Yeah, no, I love that breeding, and I just want to kind of highlight that breeding because your foundation female is daughter going back to the grandsire. I love that you're doing that. You're really locking in those traits, and you're really going in a direction with that.
Yeah, it's it's basically, I mean, using half brothers,
Yeah.
right? And so Jenny to John Wayne. So even going back to, or going not back to, but going to John Wayne, who's a half brother of Chicken and Waffles, right? So I line breed to Waffle House and everything, but I still, on paper, keep in mind, I still end up with an inbreeding coefficient of only 10.03. Okay.
Wow.
So let's see. So probably, it's hard to, it's hard to guess, as far as, but you got, so that's still just, it's a 2-time Waffle House breeding, right? But still enough genetic diversity in there, and so here's what I'm trying to do though. And so this is going to throw a monkey wrench in things for some people. But Raul and I are going to talk about some stuff on his podcast next Monday. There is a breeding theory called a guy named, shoot, I can't remember the guy's first name now. Lloyd Brackett. Okay. Back in the 1950s, he was a very successful German Shepherd breeder, and he had a he had a theory about the female lines, right? But what and we'll talk a lot about that on Monday. We're going to debate this, right? But
Uh-oh.
basically, it was the theory that the female lines, when breeding, are what really contribute the most genetic material, if you will. This guy bred 90 champions in a 12-year period. Okay, but we know that yes, the female lines are important, but the male contributes just as much from a genetic standpoint. So it's kind of going to be a debate about whether, Brackett's theory and so on, and the importance of the female lines and so on. But what I'm doing is by doing this, by breeding Jenny to John Wayne, okay, then keeping females out of that, I'm pushing the the line breeding to Waffle House to the female line, right, and retaining the God, my brain is not working. The mitochondrial DNA and the most genetic traits of the female. I'm pushing that down through the female line, and then I will go later and do some different things with that. But I'm line breeding that, but I'm still keeping my inbreeding coefficient, like I said, on paper at 10. You would think it would be higher, but it's not. And so, when you asked before about I think it was brother, sister, or something like that, I'm like, or half brother and half sister. Whether those things work out just really depend on what the other lines are, right?
Yeah.
And so, for instance, with Janie, because Janie to Bass Reeves, I mean, it is at the upper end of my comfort level, but 17.48, right? But again, doing that for a very specific reason. I know Bass Reeves has Embark, Janie has Embark, and they're both very, very nice dogs. So I'm not super concerned about it. And again, when you do something like that, if something, you got to be willing to take the risk in order to get the outcome. And so sometimes things don't always work out, and you just have to be willing to deal with that. But
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, everything's got to be strategic, and I love that you're very, very hyper strategic with everything. Every breeding has to count for something. Every breeding has to be meticulously planned. That's what it's all about. I mean, we talked earlier about people just kind of breeding to breed, and we're breeding just to a name and hoping for a good outcome, but like. Every breeding should have a purpose. It shouldn't just be, I bred two dogs I think look nice. It's very strategic, and I love that about how, again, meticulous you are.
Well, I think I've modeled every male Waffle House champion and grand champion for my breeding program. I'm part of that private group that Tone created, so
Yeah.
I'm in there. I'm checking them out. I'm like, okay, how will he work out? How will this one work out? You know, I'm pitiful.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I know I've kept you guys up past your bedtime tonight.
No, just Caleb's.
Just Caleb's. Oh, is he a little soft?
Shots fired.
Shots
Oh,
fired.
yes, it is. It is. Yes. My hair follicles need sleeping.
Are there
Yeah.
any questions though that I that somebody's got that I can answer? Or we pretty much good.
I mean, literally anything that I saw that, I mean, that you actually naturally answered several before we had an opportunity to even ask them. But I kind of feel like, I mean, I know that Walt kind of, he was, so Caleb, apparently you need to start tagging him so that he can join sooner. Your fault, Baldy. But no, he'd asked about your guys' take on ABKC, the showcase they're doing. But I think that's a conversation we could probably just have on any one of our Facebooks.
Well, I think
It's kind of that ongoing
Lance
thing.
and I will probably talk about that tomorrow night,
Yeah.
since we were going to have FW Spielberg on tomorrow night, but he's dealing with the hurricane and travel and things like that, and so he asked to reschedule, so we don't really have anybody tomorrow night now. So we'll probably, I haven't talked to Lance, but we will probably talk about that tomorrow night on the BWO podcast.
Nice. Okay.
Cool.
You know, and I'm sure Lance has an opinion.
Oh yes, I am sure he absolutely does.
Yeah, and I love how tonight's ending with like a follow up too.
Yeah.
You know, with tomorrow night's BWO podcast. Tune in. Jerry James, Lance Lee, they're leading that, and I love it. What is it? The second Wednesday of every month.
Yeah, that's the second Wednesday of every month. We just do one a month. We're not, we're not, we just can't do it like you guys do every week, man. That's just,
Yeah.
Y'all are nuts.
Yeah. But no,
y'all,
tune in
yeah,
tomorrow.
y'all are nuts. I've actually been thinking about doing my own on YouTube, but I'm just like, I don't know, man. That's, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work to come up with, guest or content and things like that. And so I don't know, but I bet you I could probably talk about beards and bourbon and bullies probably.
There you go.
See, I think your idea was great. I think honestly, you're onto something. You're onto something.
Who
So
all
I'm
in favor
gonna
say
so I'm gonna
Jerry?
answer a question
Jerry.
from early in the night. My favorite bourbon is Old Forester 1920.
He's been thinking of that.
Well,
Listen, I mean, that's
what
not just a
happens,
question, it's an
guys?
answer.
Yes.
I've told you guys before that the medication affects my short-term memory, and so I have so much nerve damage. I have to take all these stupid medications, and so I have to write everything down. I keep my pedigrees in a binder because I can't even remember my own pedigrees. But it's part of the Old Forester Whiskey Rose series, and there's several. I think there's 4 or 5 different versions that they basically reproduce with their old recipes and everything. And Old Forester 1920 is probably the best bourbon I've ever drank. So there you go.
All right.
For those of you that like bourbon, it's about $70 a bottle. It's about $70 a bottle these days. I used to collect bourbons until I started breeding dogs.
Now you drink them.
No. Now I have to drink cheap bourbon.
Yeah.
Hey,
If it makes you feel any better, I have to start drinking cheap wine.
I love that. Yes.
So if
Not too
Sacrifice.
cheap.
anybody ever wants to get me a gift, get me a good bottle of bourbon, and I'll be like, hell yeah.
I like it. There we go.
But
Yes.
All right, everybody. Well, so I don't know who all has already reached out, but Jerry was running a promotional So reach out to him. Go ahead and run us through that promotional one last time before we go ahead and say goodnight. So anybody that hasn't reached out can, to see if they can be one of those 5, those lucky 5.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do for the next 2 weeks is offer 5 individuals one COI analysis for only $50, which is half price.
Yep. Very, very, very awesome tool to have at an exceptional rate. So all you got to do is just reach out to him, let him know that you heard about his services on Tuesday Night Bully Talk. And if you're one of the lucky 5, obviously you're solid to go ahead and proceed. What he'll do, obviously, he will look at what you have thus far and find out if he's able to do an accurate COI analysis with the information that you have on hand. That's super important. He's not going to just go ahead and take your information, take your money, and then give you some of it. Like, he wants to make sure that he can give you an accurate COI analysis with as much information as humanly possible. So he'll let you know whether or not he needs more, or if he can do it at all. So that way it's not a waste of any time or resources. So yeah, just get with Jerry James.
Yeah, so the other thing that I always run into with when I do these, if we're doing a test mating analysis, meaning, we're putting a sire and a dam together to see what the litter is going to turn out, right? So the first question I always ask everybody before we go into the analysis is, what are you trying to accomplish with this breeding? So when you submit that or whatever, you need to be thinking, because if we do it and then I call you, that's the first thing I'm going to ask is, what are you trying to accomplish? Because I can't help direct anyone if I don't know what they're trying to do with that breeding.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, and I
Awesome.
love
Yeah.
it because I've talked to Jerry extensively, and he he will ask why you did this breeding, and I love it because it takes you to a different position. Like, why did you do the breeding? If you can't answer that, you really need to reassess why you're doing the breeding, because that is the first question that they ask. What are you trying to get out of this breeding? Why did you do this breeding? And Jerry,
you might be surprised or not be surprised about the number of people that hadn't really thought about it that much.
Yeah. I remember when you asked me, I was like,
Absolutely.
I'm ready to give the answer. Here it is.
Did I do one for you, Caleb?
No, but you asked me why I did the breeding, and I loved it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't remember ever doing a review, because I've only done analysis for one XL breeder in the 3 years that I've been doing this now.
Yes. Now,
No,
there
we
was a
need to
breeding that
change
we
that.
did that you were talking about. You might have done one on this, but I'll send you the breeding.
Yeah, I did 4 dogs for them, and that is the only XL breeding analysis that I've ever done, which is hard to believe when you think about it,
Yeah. Yeah.
So Caleb, you need to get your community lined out.
I got you.
Oh man.
I'm just kidding.
This year, what I want is the XL community to listen to you,
Yeah.
because this is some good information.
Yes. And show
This is good.
up. Come out.
Yes.
Listen to Jerry
I know.
and then show up. Come out. Bring them
So
down.
so also I want to plug that I will be on I'll be on Raul's QBN podcast Monday night, and we will be talking about brackets formula and the black hole theory.
Aha. Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Have you heard of that? Have you heard of that black hole theory?
Yes. Someone mentioned it earlier, and they're just like that they've actually studied it, and I want to say, oh gosh, who was it that I'm scrolling, but somebody had brought it up, and I was like, oh, I'd heard that phrase, but I haven't really actually gone in depth. So now I know what I'll be doing Monday.
What time is it Monday? What time it start?
8 o'clock.
8 Central.
Yeah, I think there's a 8 p.m. Central.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every Monday.
So, yep. So, yeah, me, Raul, and the Gaines boys, and we'll hash that out, because Shauna and I have had a fairly extensive discussion regarding those approaches to breeding and the actual way the genetics work, and so on. And so, there's some contradictions there, but I will say it's hard to argue with the guys. It's hard to argue with the guy's success, but one thing I guess before we go, one thing I do want to add. I think one of the most important things that you can do when breeding, okay, to really hedge your bets as far as the ultimate outcome, is to make sure that you select dogs that are very similar, if you can, in the phenotypes that you have. Now, you may be trying to change a head shape or something, it may be a particular trait, you're trying to improve, right? But, select a phenotype that's very similar, if you can, to the dog that you're breeding to improve your chances of a consistent outcome, regardless of what the inbreeding coefficient is. So I want you to think about this. I call it trait-based breeding. If you have two dogs that their phenotypes are exactly alike, right? So you think about the genes and the modifiers of those genes. If they look very similar, then they have to have very similar genes, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you would agree, right?
Absolutely.
And so the A's and the C's and the T's and the G's in the DNA sequences and the way that they're lined up have to be very similar, okay? Those heterozygous runs in their chromosomes have to be very similar. Polygenic chains have to be very similar in order for those dogs to look very similar. And so, regardless of inbreeding coefficient, you can still have consistency if you line up the phenotypes of the dogs. And so I really feel like that Brackett, when he was doing this, was using very high quality dogs as well. So you can always, Maggie and Sriracha had very similar phenotypes, even though Sriracha was a couple of inches taller. But other than that, looked very, very similar. And so, just to throw a little monkey wrench in things there.
Nice. Well
Okay.
done. But if anybody's, I know that Raul will be advertising it if he hasn't already. When he does, we'll go ahead and share that out so that way everyone knows how to join in and watch this upcoming Monday at 8 p.m. Central. And then tomorrow, being the second Tuesday or second Wednesday of the month, BWO will be going live to discuss probably what announcement was made last week with ABQC National. So if you're interested in kind of getting some opinions on that and talking dogs with two awesome gentlemen, one of which is with us tonight, then definitely tune into that. We'll go ahead and share that as well, the link to that live later. So, yep.
Absolutely.
But again, Jerry, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure having you on. This is not the first time you've been on. It will not be the last. It's always a pleasure having you. I mean, it's just one of those things where you always the great thing about it is that in spite of this not being the first time that you've been on the show, you have actually given information that didn't make it into the last live. You know what I mean? So like you're
Yeah.
still providing new things, you know, to people that otherwise might not hear it from somewhere else. So I think that that's obviously invaluable. So, so yeah, we'll obviously again have you on another time, obviously, because we enjoy having you. You're
Well,
welcome, Melvin.
I'm grateful to you guys for having me on, and I'm always available to you guys anytime. So,
We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Sure enough.
I will
and
be doing it tomorrow night, man. I love you. I love what y'all are doing, man. Keep doing it.
well, I'm gonna, Lance does most of the talking, so we'll.
He's got a habit of that. He really does.
Oh, absolutely. And you've spoken like quite a bit tonight, so maybe you'll be happy. But it's like, no, you take it away. You take
Yeah,
it away.
I'll get a rest tomorrow night. Yeah.
Absolutely. Everybody in the comments, I've also posted our YouTube channel as well. The videos get uploaded to that channel rather. So that way you can keep up with not just the ones that you've seen recently, but also all the way dating back to the beginning. So that way you can see all kinds of guests that we've had,
2 years.
whatnot. So
2 years. We're coming up on 2 years
Yeah.
anniversary. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So
The community, this is for y'all. This is for
definitely.
y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, and again, it's, every single live, there's new information that gets shared that is again, incredibly awesome. So, go ahead, go to that YouTube channel and just enjoy everything. If, anything you saw that, you had any questions, we can hook you up with the guest, if you're not already acquainted. We're at your disposal. So it's just, anything you need, just let us know, and we'll lead you in the right direction. So share away, everybody. I hope you enjoyed tonight. Jerry, again, thank you. You were the man, as always.
Jerry,
All right.
love you. Appreciate you.
All right,
Hey,
guys.
thank you guys. I appreciate you so much. Y'all have a good evening.
All right.
All right. Good
You
night.
as well.
Peace.
All right.
Thanks,
See ya.
guys.
All right.
Have a good night.